BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Throws in the end zone. It's a trifecta for Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it?
Josh Allen, 4 touchdown passes and a touchdown run.
Man, he's a dog. He's a quarterback that you want to play with. He's a quarterback that gives you that energy, gives you that belief.
I thought it was just a culmination of everyone doing their job.
I still think we have more, but we left a lot out there.
Who's your daddy?
And now the entire team's going to come out and huddle around Tre'Davious. This is a very sad sight as the Cards now coming out on the field. This isn't good at all.
You know, he personifies what it is to be a Buffalo Bill.
Mike Danger.
You're not going to be able to contain all of the big plays. The Bills, and that would be a shock if we came back here on Monday and said, wow, the Bills defense really shut that offense down.
Gene Battaglia.
Did you ever know you're my hero? Oh, wow. Wow. Hero.
And the Bills are in first place in the AFC East with a 48-20 victory.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Hey there, good afternoon, and welcome on into the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us on a Victory Monday. Listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, and the free-to-download Odyssey app, or on YouTube or Twitch at The Fan Rochester, or even on your smart device. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, I'm Mike Danger. Over there, that's Gene Battaglia.
I was worried yesterday at the beginning, thinking this day is going to be long for Buffalo. Drew Bledsoe. How embarrassing was that?
It was
not even knowing what
a bad omen, bad start. You're going to lead the charge. You want your guy to be able to say, hey. Bledsoe almost put a question mark at the end of it. And he was, oh.
Like he didn't know the words.
Huh? What?
You played here.
No, was that as big a deal then as it is now? It was, right? Like you heard it after I mean, I guess you just didn't score enough, Drew, to really have that ingrained in your brain. I mean, now it's etched in my mind forever. And anybody who was, they kept scoring and scoring yesterday to the point where you can't help but have it in your head, stuck in your head today, instead of Drew's remix.
And everybody's like,
at least he didn't screw up the "Where Else Would You Rather Be" line. My goodness, Drew Bledsoe leading the charge. And from there, everything went up for the Buffalo Bills as we're here to recap it today. And we're going to talk to some of the best out there and take plenty of your calls and your reactions to what was a decisive 28-point victory for the Buffalo Bills, the first place Buffalo Bills. Here's what's on tap in the Sports Bar. Brought to you by Three Heads Brewing. Rocktoberfest Lager, malty, sweet, and such a treat. It's great for this time of year. Get it before it is gone. Joining us in the 4 o'clock hour this afternoon, Sal Majorana from the Democrat and Chronicle.
Who was out there. He covers the team home and away, so we'll get Sal on to get his thoughts on what he saw yesterday and the task that's ahead here, because I look ahead at the schedule and I'm like, wow, there are W's, but if you had to say over the next 5 games, which one's the toughest? Well, travel, and they made the playoffs last year.
Jacksonville?
Yeah. And
coming
they're
off
already
a big win.
And they're not jet lagged. They're staying over there.
That's right.
So this is going to be tough this week. We'll talk to Sal Majorana coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
And later this hour, we'll get the thoughts of 13-WAM sports director, BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana.
Who I saw briefly yesterday. He's like, this baseball season isn't as fun. We can't make fun of the Mets. They're not fun anymore. I'm like, well, good. I'm glad.
He's right.
I'm glad.
Yeah. You can make fun of the Cubs choking away a chance at the postseason. That's fun.
You saw that coming. We all saw that coming.
Yeah. I saw it coming starting like last week. I'm like, wait a minute. They're not going to make it. They're playing horrible. They're not. There's no turning this around. They peaked at the wrong time, damn it. Anyways, Mike Catalana joins us here to talk some Buffalo Bills in about 20 minutes or so. You can join us at 866-4FAN. 866-4326 is our phone number. Gino, I'm feeling good. I brought my daughter her first Bills experience, and I want to thank everybody who reached out and gave us suggestions. I feel bad. I feel like I might have disappointed some hardcore fans because we were being invited to the Hammerlot and to do the Pinto Ron tailgate and do the whole thing, and And I showed the video to my daughter, and she's like, Dad, I feel kind of bad for that guy. It looks disgusting. I don't know that I want to go see that. I'm like, well, Kenny's a good guy, and he's a Rochester guy. If you don't want to go, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. This is your first Bills game. So we just hung out, tailgated a little bit, kept it kind of quiet and tame and reserved. And Buddy, who brought his daughter to her first game yesterday as well, joined me he was in town from Long Island. So we had a good time. Smoked some meat the night before and got into the game and just took it all in. It was amazing.
As far as a game itself, and I'm glad you got that game on a beautiful day. And, okay, admitting recency bias is real. I think that was the loudest I've ever heard it in that stadium yesterday, Danger. It was deafening. Talking to McDermott after the game, he's mentioning how 40% of the plays, they couldn't get into Terrell Bernard. That's how loud it was. They were going with hand signals. I mean, that stadium was juiced yesterday.
Yeah. My kid said that the Beyonce concert was louder, but that's neither here nor there. I thought it was electric. It felt electric. It felt special. The whole day felt special. You had a perfect setting. I mean, October, beautiful sunny skies, 75 degrees. The vibes were immaculate.
Yeah,
vibes were immaculate.
And you've got a really decent opponent who will bounce back. I don't doubt it. But that was Buffalo at their finest. There is a damper on this.
By the way, I'll challenge you on that. I doubt it. I doubt that Miami is as good as what we saw when they dropped 70 on Denver. And I think Sean McDermott may have just laid out a blueprint for how to beat Miami. Confuse Tua. It's what we were saying all last week. Force him to get to his second read. He can't process what you're throwing at him. And because he can't process it, you can confuse him into making mistakes or just holding on to the ball too long.
I would agree with that, but how did they score their first two touchdowns?
Yeah.
Achane. They didn't, once they fell behind, they abandoned the run. So that's also part of the formula there. I think Miami can still run. But the story to me, Sean McDermott is defensive coordinator. Oh my gosh. Like that. Frame it this way. Okay, first two drives, you're just getting settled in, up to speed. Once they did, they allowed 6 points from there on out.
That's right. Yeah, an impressive performance by the Bills defense. The defensive line continues to be just menacing, just getting after it, getting after the quarterback. Ed Oliver is playing the best football of his career. It's wonderful to see what Greg Rousseau has developed into. Even, and the rotation is solid. I mean, everybody that's getting in there is making an impact. Daquan Jones obviously has been a disruptor. A.J. Epineza had another big play, breaking up a pass. I mean, you could just go down the list of players and just know, all right, the defensive line is doing their job. They're getting after the quarterback and they're creating pressure. The second level is doing their job. They're where they need to be. They're reacting instinctually, and they're eating up blocks when they need to eat up blocks. And the secondary took a hit, and that's going to be a question here coming up over the course of the next couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see what that all looks like for the Bills. But, man, it all starts with Sean McDermott telling everybody where they need to be and calling the plays that matter and that make an impact. And that defense was solid yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll get the official word, I think, probably at 4 o'clock, McDermott, to speak to reporters then about Tre'Davious White. But the Achilles is what they're fearing, and I don't know if that's an injury that you recover from easily. If
when
you're
the player reacts the way that he reacted, it's because he knows it's over, right? I mean, when have you seen a player react that way?
To Keo Spikes, same exact thing. But to Spikes' credit, he came back. This is 2 injuries. And you would make the argument, too, that if you're a corner, that it's devastating for Tre'Davious. He knows that. Yeah.
It's terrible. And you hated to see that. That's the blemish on an otherwise perfect day. The Trey White injury is something that we'll find out more about probably this afternoon and what it might mean long term. But I wouldn't be shocked if that's it. And that's the end of the Trey White era in Buffalo.
Look, I'm going to be alone on this one because I know a lot of people don't like Dane Jackson. I think he's serviceable. I know that doesn't, excite you, but give me a corner who can tackle. He can tackle. He's going to get beat sometimes. Lots of corners in this beat. The guy from Miami yesterday, holy cow, did Diggs eat his lunch? That was funny, actually.
Yeah. Just an unbelievable performance, both offensively and defensively for the Buffalo Bills. The first place Buffalo Bills. Mike Catalano will join us here in about 15 minutes or so. We'll get some of his thoughts from a big win yesterday here as it's a Victory Monday in the sports bar.
Yeah, so let's hear from you. If you went to the game, if you watched the game, I'm sure you got opinions on this. Memorable day. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're area code 585 in Rochester. Once again, our leadoff hitter, our Alan Wiggins from San Diego. Tim in San Diego. What's up, buddy?
Alan Wiggins. Come on, at least give me Ricky Henderson. He was a Padre at one time.
No, I think of him as Oakland. I'm sorry. You're Alan Wiggins, but go ahead.
Well, you can also make fun of the Padres, too, in addition to the Mets. So,
and the Cubs, yeah.
We're just a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
Well, Danger, I mean, your Bears didn't do you any.
No, don't worry. I got plenty stashed for the Bears this week. I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna let it stew and simmer, and at some point I'll boil over this week.
Away from the television.
At some point, I will boil over this week. Between now and Thursday, there will be a boiling point.
Right, of course, as always. Yesterday, hey, beat him in all three phases. I mean, Tyler Bass. I mean, he was on point yesterday. He was amazing. Extra points, field goals. He's really found his groove. But as you mentioned, losing Trey White, it's kind of like, how does he come back from this? And it's going to be very tough because it's the whole mental process, like he went through the torn ACL. There's going to be that factor, coming in after everything is said and done and he's recovered physically. But really sad to see. I hope Brandon Beane is on the phone right now trying to find a corner to take his place. Even though, Gene, I'm with you. Dane Jackson played really well yesterday. He was serviceable, like you said. But Kyrie, it's your turn now. You got to step up if they even want to activate him. But it's if he wants an opportunity, he needs to step up now to prove himself.
Yeah, this is it, Tim, and you're right about Tyler Bass. Like, is there 53 yards? I'm not even thinking he's going to miss it. Like, what other kicker other than the guy in Baltimore are you saying, oh, yeah, he's got this from 50 plus?
I'll push back a little bit here, though, Tim. I don't see Brandon Beane going out and getting a corner. I think they like the guys that they have. I think even when you talk about guys that are practice squad guys, Brandon Ingram, I think they rather develop the guys that are...
Ingram.
I'm sorry, thank you, Gene, Jamarcus Ingram. The guys that they have on the practice squad, the guys that they want to bring up that are part of this system, part of their routine, that they know, that they're familiar with. I think they'd rather work with those guys first rather than bringing an outsider. Unless it's somebody that used to play for Carolina. I don't know. And bring back Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Peanut Tillman can hang it up in the FBI, come back and play for Sean McDermott. I really don't know. But I have a feeling they're going to stick with the guys that they have, the guy that they drafted in the first round.
Unless this is what we fear, right? Kyrie Elam, here we go. Because as a third corner, you're going to have to be in there at some point. And that's... Yeah, it's as soon as this week. So who's going to be that third corner? Can you imagine if they just say, "Hey, Ingram, you're the next guy in," and they bypass you?
That would be crazy. I mean, that would be insane. I mean, think about Elam. He's still a first round talent. He's athletic. He's speedy. Can he adapt to this zone defense? Can he play the defense the way Sean McDermott? Because that's what confused Tua yesterday. Tua didn't know where to go with the ball because the guys are all over the place where they need to be, and if one guy's moving up, another guy's moving back, and completely confusing the quarterback. So if Elam can adapt and play where he needs to play, I'm excited to see what he looks like when he gets on the field, and I think he will get on the field.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, like you said, athletically a stud, but just finding that niche in the zone and where he understands it is definitely has been his bugaboo. But I mean, I root for the kid. I mean, I want to see him do well. It's just a matter of getting him in there and getting reps, and maybe he can start proving himself again. Who knows?
Yellow and brown. That's what's in.
Oh man.
Tim from San Diego starting us off. That's what's in. Tim, thanks, buddy.
All right.
Thanks. See you, bud. We gotta save your vocals, your vocal cords. Save your singing for when we get to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm gonna ask that you refrain from singing on the show.
I'm sorry. I'm just warm. I'm trying to show you that I cannot sing. That's my strategy.
That's why we're going to do it. We're going to do it And it's going to be wonderful and terrible all at the same time. We're talking about our little challenge here as we build our community on YouTube and Twitch, that if we get to 1,000 subscribers and followers, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, then we'll sing Into the Night by Benny Mardones at an upcoming Friday Football Talk Live.
I know our number 866-4326. I know Linda would love to see us sing. Hi, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
I won't go there right now. So, was I the only person in Western New York that thought the Bills could win this game? I was not scared of Miami. I think I even said that to you guys. I was not scared of Miami. I thought if we played smart and confident, which they most certainly did, we could win. And we did. And even though this was a horrible thing that happened to Tre'Davious, heart feels. I'm not like shaking in my boots that we won't be able to handle whatever teams throw at us. I think we have enough depth. I think we've got a front four that can pressure the quarterback, make the secondary's life a little easier. We've got two linebackers playing out of their mind. So I think that we'll be okay. We'll be okay. And if I may, I just want to throw in a little blurb about the Sabres, because I was at their preseason game on Saturday in Buffalo, and first period was a little shaky, but as middle of second period and onward, it's like they figured out what the Blue Jackets, Columbus Blue Jackets, we're up to. So I think it's going to be a very entertaining season. It really was a pleasure to watch the game, and 12,000 other people thought so too. I thought that's pretty good for
really
a
for preseason.
Game.
We couldn't ask again for a regular season Friday night not long ago.
Yes. So happy to see the Sabres and happy to see the Bills win, and so have a really good day, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Sabres are at 33 players. They sent down Ciccone and Davis to the Amherst today. We are less than 2 weeks away.
I like that the Sabres were there at Highmark yesterday pregame as well. I mean, that was a nice little diversion from where they were. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe 1 minute botching the leading of the charge. And then the next minute you at least have the Sabres there showing up and getting their recognition pregame too. That was fun to see. Look, I don't know what Linda's talking about. I think both of us had the Bills winning this game. I had them winning by 10 going into the game.
Maybe the national narrative was like, hey,
fair.
this is Miami's chance to, like, they are now the team to beat, and you score 70.
This is an enviable place for the Bills where they are right now, because I think nationally they've become this team that's like, they've been good enough for a long time that there's fatigue. That there's a fatigue when you get
talked about that in camp with every player that we had on. That wait a second, it was the Jets in the division. It's like the world has moved on from Buffalo. They can't do it, and not a single player took the bait on our question. Like, no, that's kind of fine. And this is where we're at right now. And are we ready to crown Buffalo in the AFC? I don't think so. Yes, the Chiefs won last night. Was not impressive. We said we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Long way.
You're just at the quarter turn here, almost at the quarter turn here, and you're in first place, which is a good place to be. A lot of football left to be played. A lot can happen between now and the end of the season. But it has been encouraging here the last 3 weeks, and especially against a divisional opponent at home, to do what they did yesterday was impressive. And let's see if that confidence and momentum carries them here as they travel to London on Sunday.
Part of me is sad. That's the last time we're going to have Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock with those conditions. Maybe on New Year's Eve, but it's not going to be like that yesterday.
I was going to mention it, and I'll drink to that, that if you're any other team in the NFL playing the Buffalo Bills, you're not playing it Sunday at 1 o'clock unless you're named the New England Patriots. Then you will be playing the Buffalo Bills Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Oh, can we just Just 10 seconds on the Patriots. Did you sweat at all with our pick yesterday, Danger? I did not.
We'll give our Survive in Advance pick for Week 5 as we continue on this journey.
Oh, make a note of it, all right? So tomorrow I have to cut out of here early just because my son's senior day. I got to be a dad tomorrow. So Bo from the B will be. I'll be handing the baton off 3:45 tomorrow for
Fair.
Survive in Advance.
Sounds good. So we'll give that pick out at 3:45. Gene will deliver his pick with the gusto that you've come to expect and the confidence that you've come to expect with his Survive in Advance pick.
I had people reaching out to me on social media. Dallas, really? You're not picking the Niners? Okay, the Niners advance too. This
would have worked.
I have thoughts on Philadelphia, Washington. That's coming up, and I'll drink to that too.
Okay. We'll get to that coming up here before 4 o'clock, right around 4 o'clock with I'll Drink to That. Some takes on tap next in the sports bar. I want to make sure we have plenty of time and space for the Rochester sports icon, 13 Wham sports director, and BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana. We'll get his thoughts from a Victory Monday as he joins us next here in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your
Buffalo Bills getting ready for their flight overseas coming up this week, coming off a huge win, 48-20 over the Miami Dolphins. And Coach Sean McDermott says big-time players make those plays.
Big-time players have big-time games or in these type settings, right? So complementary football is important. It's a team win, but your star players have to play at star levels in these games. And that's a weekly thing. And those guys played at that level.
Josh Allen, 5 total touchdowns in this game, 3 touchdown passes to Stephon Diggs. McDermott to talk at 4 o'clock today, still awaiting the official word on the Achilles injury to Tre'Davious White. White leaving yesterday on a cart. 13 Web's Mike Catalana to join us next year in the Sports Bar. Tonight it's Monday Night Football, the Giants taking on the Seahawks. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I was happy, this football thing, you never know how it's going to show up. You know what I'm saying? I kind of echo what Mitch says. He said take it one moment at a time, and I feel like we came out with the right mindset. Guys were blocking their ass off. And, just the touchdowns, it's all the glitz and the glam, but the big guys don't get enough credit for. I need a lot of things to happen for me to catch the ball and me to make some plays, so kind of want to give them all the credit.
Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs, 3 touchdown performance yesterday in Orchard Park. We welcome in 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com's Mike Catalana into the Sports Bar. Mike, I think a lot of us believe that the Bills at home could beat Miami. Were you surprised yesterday at the outcome, given just how badly they beat Miami?
Yeah, I was surprised by, honestly, the domination from the certain point. Once you got past where you thought everybody was going to score every time they touched the ball, the adjustments McDermott made to really take a Miami team they were doing nothing with defensively and then just shut them down. But I think the other part of that is when your offense is clicking like Josh Allen and the Bills were, it puts so much pressure on the other team. And I got to tell you guys, I think McDermott as a defensive play caller has been the biggest positive change for this team this year because they just play differently. They really do. And that really showed up on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, Mike, how this is actually going to look when Von Miller gets back. They've started the clock here. I would assume it's not going to be this week here, but about that defensive line, how do you all these guys seemingly have taken a step forward. Ed Oliver showing the promise. Daquan Jones. What about A.J. Epineza? I look at Epineza thinking, oh gosh, I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to afford him next year.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see that. You're right. They're all playing, I would say, at the level or above what you wanted. I think Ed Oliver's been fantastic. I think he's gotten a ton of pressure up the middle. Greg Rousseau makes a play every week. And you're right, when A.J. comes in and does that, look, maybe when you draft a guy, he was their first pick that year, even though it was in the second round, you're hoping for more. Maybe he's the kind of guy it took a little while longer. I tell you, he plays a smart game, gets his hands up at the right times. And you're right. Then you add Von Miller into that mix, but it's already been a productive group. So it starts there. Obviously, you've seen what the 2 linebackers have done. I mean, 2 playmakers now at the linebacker position. You get worried about the secondary a little bit. Poyer nicked up. We'll see when he's back. The Trey White thing is really sad and impactful for this team. So, we'll have to see where it goes from there in the secondary, but if you can get pressure with that front 4 without sending extra people, you can be really effective defensively, and that's what they were yesterday.
And that's what it was, right? I mean, this was a confused Tua in the pocket who held onto the ball longer than he probably has all season long. The pressure got to him, and he just didn't know where to throw because of how well the Bills and how disciplined the Bills were in executing that zone defense. It's a league that changes constantly, and you mentioned the adjustments that McDermott had to make. How are other teams now going to try and exploit what the Bills have done here the last few weeks with perfect execution, or is it just a matter of that defensive line continuing to play at the level that they're playing fixes everything?
It does. It does in a way. It doesn't fix everything, and teams will come up with different plans, and some players are a little better off script. Look, the same plan that works for Tua maybe doesn't work for Mahomes, right? Because Mahomes is great off script. Mahomes is great on the run. But there's very few Patrick Mahomes in the world, so I would say this. I think the Bills have shown a flexibility defensively. And, again, when you're talking about guys that make plays and a D-line that can get there with 4, it really opens up a ton for Sean McDermott. Now, you still got to be able to cover, and you still have to be smart. But you use the word discipline. I think that's great. I think that's when Sean McDermott talks about doing your 111th, I think sometimes people misconstrue it as, not trying to be a star, not trying to do a great thing. No, when Steph Diggs breaks a tackle and goes 55 for a touchdown, that's just Diggs being Diggs. That's not what he's talking about. Don't take your rush wide on the D line because of the defense we have set up, or you're going to leave a massive hole there for them to run through. I'm simplifying it, but that's what it is. I think this team did show discipline. I think they stayed in their lane. I think they got their hands up when Tua thought he had a throwing lane. So it's been a smart, disciplined, flexible, playmaking defense. And then, by the way, Josh Allen should be the favorite for MVP right now.
Wow. Mike Catalina, 13 wham, our guest. Mike, there was a damper yesterday. Tre'Davious White, and I guess we'll get the official word here, you'd assume pretty quickly, McDermott, to talk here next hour. But I guess where do you go from here? And in the short term, it's Dane Jackson, Christian Benford. Your thoughts on Kyrie Elam? I would assume he's going to get pressed into service. And where do you come down? Should Brandon Beane be working the phone? Should that be the expectation with the trade deadline coming up on Halloween?
Yeah, I think both. All right. I think Kyrie Elam did not dress. I heard some people saying, you dress him against Miami, because, you need more corners. And look, the guy's got to prove he can be on the field. I shouldn't. He's a pro football player. He's a number 1 draft pick, but he's in the NFL. He's on a roster. But you'd think the guy would probably feel a bit embarrassed to not be dressing as a number 1 pick, and he's not. And I think he's talented. But, he hasn't been active for 4 games. That says something about what they think. But I think he's going to get a shot. Maybe he didn't earn the difference. Maybe he didn't do enough of that in the spring and the summer to earn the right to play. But sometimes the play comes to you, right? Trey's out. And I'm assuming we're going to hear he's done for the season. So they're going to see what Elam can do. But I also would say, no doubt in my mind, if you need depth anyhow, Sean McDermott's going to be, or Brandon Beane's going to be out there looking for another corner. And there's guys out there. He can make some moves. That's why, the trade deadline, I think they should push it back a little bit because you want teams to feel engaged and that they're still in it. But, it's hard for teams to make deals in October when there's still a lot of season left. But if there's a corner to be had, if I'm being aggressive and looking for it, if for nothing else, help depending on how Elam plays.
Well, conversely, Mike, wouldn't you say that the way this team has kind of always operated, that Beane, instead of making a big splash or getting a name brand corner in here, that you could find somebody that's young, moldable, malleable, somebody that you could put on your practice squad? You could just find somebody that you can develop the way they've developed some of these guys. I mean, let's face it, they like Ingram. He could be somebody that gets elevated from the practice squad just because he's been here, he knows the system, and he knows what the expectations are.
Yeah, I think that could happen. And those guys will probably get opportunities, whether it's, more of a look in practice and maybe a chance to be, activated on game day down the line. But, it's not they're not messing around now. I mean, you're one of the best teams in the league. It's your shot. And we're talking about a corner. So once we get past that deadline, it's a little harder to find those guys. Yes. You're right. They like what they see in these young guys. But if Elam steps in that backup role and he's not ready for it still, I just cannot see them staying so young at that position and not going out and getting somebody who's been around this league and played. There's teams that are going to be dealing guys. Hey, who knows? Maybe our friend Levi Wallace gets out of Pittsburgh, right? I mean, there are guys out there that have played in the system that you may be able to make a deal for. So I know that maybe that wouldn't excite a lot of people, but you're looking for guys who know the system and can play it. because, we're a quarter of the way through the season, and by the time we get to the trade deadline, we're halfway there, and the schedule's tough. And I think Bean needs to be smart, not reckless, but he's got a lot of draft picks for next year. He can make some deals.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, our guest here. You're saying McDermott, like that is the biggest difference. I would agree. If I had to say the second biggest difference, would you agree with this? What about the job Aaron Kromer has done? We don't really kind of talk about offensive line play because, well, if they're doing their job, then that's fantastic. Mike, I can't imagine them doing a better job than they're doing right now.
Yeah, well, it helps when you get some better players, too. And that's on Bean. But it looks like Osiris Torrance has been really good. McGovern has been good. And, I was watching Brian Baldinger break down some of the play on the offensive line at former linemen. He loves doing it. And he's showing the Bills being more, I'll say aggressive. I would say basically imposing their will a bit on the Miami defense. And I just don't think the Bills were always sort of known for that. I think they look more athletic. And athletic doesn't always mean speed. Like Osiris Torrance is a big man who yesterday I saw a play where he just bullied the D lineman out of the way and opened up a hole. I saw a play that Baldinger showed where I got to say Spencer Brown on one side and Deion Dawkins on the other both put their guys on the ground. And Josh moved up in the pocket and made a play. So they're playing maybe more in the style that Kromer wanted, but he's also got, I think, better players in there. And I give Spencer Brown credit. He took a lot of grief. He has played much better. And a disciplined Josh Allen has made the job of the offensive lineman a little easier. I mean, he still moves and he still does his stuff, but if you've noticed, he hasn't bailed as quickly. He's had a little more confidence. He's gotten the ball out quickly, especially early in games. And, I mean, Josh Allen right now, these last few games has just played he's back, he's at a superstar level again without doing the reckless stuff.
So are we done? I mean, I know that it's one game, it's 1 week, and things change quickly in the NFL, but can we just recognize the coaching staff for a little bit? Gene brought up Kromer. Ken Dorsey is somebody that's been in the crosshairs of a lot of Bills fans. I mean, hell, we took calls over the summer with people saying that Sean McDermott should be fired if they, come on, these are good coaches. They know what they're doing. The players execute, but it's the coaches that are playing to the strengths of their guys and putting them in the positions that are most comfortable for them in order for them to win. Can we put that to rest at least for, the rest of this season? Just given, I don't want us to forget how we feel today about how these coaches have done, what these coaches have done with this team.
Look, you can be upset at a coach for a moment, for a game, for a series of plays, for a decision. That's the very real world they live in. And, sometimes they make the wrong call. But if you look at what Sean McDermott has done this year, whatever the deal was with Diggs and how he navigated that, Diggs has been incredible, and there is beyond no issue. And then look at what he did with Josh Allen. Josh had a horrendous first game. And it's funny, we saw Mahomes, so maybe I got to give a little more credit to the Jets defense because they are pretty good.
Yeah.
But Josh was terrible in that first game. And I told Dan and Jenna, I said, I think it was a tipping point moment for Josh. I think he knew he blew that game, and he knew he couldn't play that way. And McDermott was on him, not publicly ripping his quarterback, but holding him accountable and with a demand. But I think that's the way he talks to Josh. And Allen responded. And look at in that case, and give Dorsey credit. He stuck to what he thought. He runs the ball sometimes. Everybody thinks if you're going to run it, it's got to always be this great play. And I think he realizes by running the ball a little more consistently, he's put that in the head of the other team's defense. And things have opened up for Josh. So I think this first quarter of the season could not have started out much worse with the play on the field with that first game. But, guys, this is back-to-back-to-back blowouts, including your number one rival, certainly division rival, that you beat by 4 touchdowns when they were coming off a 70-point game. So 1 quarter down, it's a big up right now for the Bills. You just gotta keep this going because that Jets loss is going to loom for them all year long depending on how Miami plays.
Yeah, when you look ahead to October, before there are W's here, like Tampa, New England, Giants. I think this is, knowing what you got to go up against here this week, I think this is the toughest one, actually, Mike. I know Jacksonville hasn't played to their potential, but your thoughts on a week where NFL players are so into a routine, coaches are so into routine, and this week is anything but routine for this team going across the pond here.
Yeah, it isn't. I mean, that's a long flight. I mean, we're going tomorrow. It's a long flight to get over there. And they're really taking it it's really like the Patriots way of going over there, where it's go at the end, get ready, sort of, assimilate a bit to the time. These guys are staying 40 minutes outside this, like where they are. I've been there before. It's a haul from the center of London. They're there like Friday to practice and then Saturday and then the game on Sunday. So this really is a business trip for them. And Jacksonville's odd. They've been there a few days, they play, and then they're there all week. So we'll see how they enjoy that part of it. But, Jacksonville's – I mean, look, it's the NFL. So sometimes you think a team is nothing or they're not going to compete, and they step up. And so you never know where the tough games are going to come from. But I think Jacksonville's a good team. My concern – and this really has nothing to do with these guys, I guess, but – Bills do not have great success against this Jacksonville franchise. Jim Kelly's last game, the first playoff game in 20 years, they lose that one. The crazy game in there 2 years ago, Dan and I are still convinced the Bills are going to win that game when they lost that clown Urban Meyer. I mean, they just Jacksonville is just it for whatever reason, oddly, it doesn't come out well for the Bills usually against them, and losing in London to them. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. But, that should be a better team than they've played. I know they're coming off a win, so we'll see how they look against the Bills.
What other threat do you see for the Buffalo Bills outside of Kansas City in the AFC, Mike?
Well, it's tough to tell. I have not gotten a chance to really see much of the Bengals, but they must be a mess at the moment.
Yeah.
Because that's a talented team that looks all the stuff that, Screamin' A and everybody was talking about with the Bills seem to apply more to the Bengals than the Bills. I mean, they look like a disjointed bunch, and I know Burrow is hurt, but they're all over the map in that case. I think Baltimore is always going to be something because of Lamar. I don't know if they're great, but in any game you got to, it's the NFL. It's one game. I think Miami is a threat, obviously Kansas City. I don't love anybody else in the West. I mean, the Chargers are what they are, and then the other two are not good football teams. And, Pittsburgh has really been a disappointment, terrible. Cleveland's got too many issues, and I don't like the quarterback. You go around, that's why I said, I don't know if I said it to you guys. I tend to pontificate a little bit. But I don't think the AFC is better than the NFC. I think there's better quarterbacks. I think Mahomes and Josh are the two best quarterbacks in football. But I look and I go, okay. And besides the Bills, and maybe you'd say the Chiefs in that way because of their history, Miami's good, but no better than Dallas, Philly, San Francisco, maybe even Detroit. I think it's relatively close in that way. So that's good news for the Bills because some of the teams we thought were going to be really good look like they're going to have some issues.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus, our guest here in the Sports Bar. And the price for Bills fans here, Mike, for having a team that is a contender is, that's it pretty much for your Sunday 1 o'clock until the end of the year. I mean, next up, It's going to be Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, 4:25. So my question is this. In recency bias, I will acknowledge that maybe there's a little bit here. Was that the loudest you've heard the stadium yesterday?
Jenna was on the field for the game, and she texted us and said, I've never heard this place louder. Okay. And then McDermott said it, and then other people on the field said it. And I don't know if it was because, it was a Chamber of Commerce perfect day for football. So people are great opponent, rival, They get themselves a little prepared for the game. The weather's awesome, so you're not like crazy sweating your head off, but you're also not bundled up and freezing. So it can last some of those cold games. That's tough to maintain for 3 hours. And they were into it. And the start of the game got everybody lit up. That was back and forth. It was great. And then the Bills dominated. So, enough people said that. We've heard it pretty loud in there. And it was pretty loud back in the 90s, as I remember. But sometimes we remember things differently. I thought the crowd was just spectacular. And, maybe they just wanted to enjoy the nostalgia of the 1 o'clock games, because you're right, man. It's going to be a lot of 425s and nights the rest of the way through.
Very loud and very forgiving. How does Drew Bledsoe botch the leading the lead? How do you not know the fight song? I mean, did they just not score enough when he was the quarterback for him to not have that ingrained in his brain? What was that?
I don't think of Bledsoe as a Bills guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's a Patriot, and he's pretty good at, and he's fine. Look, he was a talent. They needed somebody. I mean, they threw him a borderline parade when he came in. It was Drew Bledsoe. And for about half a year, he was pretty good, and then it went south because they used to have to, remember to blow an air horn to get him to throw the ball at practice?
The alarm clock or whatever that was, yeah.
Look, he's a super successful guy. He's got a great life. Good for him. Earned a ton of money. Great. Very, very good NFL quarterback throughout his career. But I just don't think of him as a Bills guy. And if you're going to come, know the words, right? No. Plus, I'm who, for the Dolphins game, Bledsoe? I don't know. I think they should just have, Tally and Thurman every other week, because those guys are so into it.
And despite all of that, all of that, the crowd was still whipped up into a frenzy throughout the course of the afternoon. And it was, you're right, it was just the perfect storm of just all the right elements for an unbelievable afternoon in Orchard Park. Mike, what are you, Jenna, and Dan working on here at BuffaloPlus.com this week? You mentioned you're heading to London. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so on the channel right now, on the YouTube channel, you can check out the 10 takeaways. Probably the best response maybe we've ever gotten to a video. So that's been really good. Obviously it helps when the team plays that well, but we do that. And we'll have really coverage from what's going on in London and back here starting on Wednesday. So it's Jenna and I heading over to London. The last time I took British Toby with me. Toby Motika. So that was 8 years ago. So it's British Jenna this time, though I don't think she's going to act out the part. I think she's just going to go do a little work and a little sightseeing. So, and we'll have coverage over there all week. On Thursday, we're taking a tour of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They're not doing fan tours this week because they have the multiple games going on. So we'll give fans an idea of what the future home of the Bills is going to look like. It's the stadium they're modeling the new home in Orchard Park after. So we'll be doing that. Friday we'll be with the team at their practice, so we'll be doing all that, plus all the information on what goes on with the team this week, what they decide to do roster-wise with Trey White when we find out for sure, and anything else that happens with the Bills on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.
So, Danger, I see Catalana yesterday in the press box, and he's got his head buried in the laptop, and he just lifts it up for a second. He's like, wasn't this fun this year with the Mets just being so bad?
It really wasn't.
Yeah, their collapse happened far sooner than my Cubs collapse. If you wanted to throw daggers at anybody, throw it at the guy over here that in July was saying, "Oh yeah, the Cubs are going to make the postseason. They look good. Their run differential's great. They've got enough." Oh, what a collapse! What an epic choke here by the Cubs. I'm so disappointed in that team.
Yeah. But what you don't have as a Cubs fan is, because Cubs have always disappointed, and Cubs fans have known it, and they're always sort of waiting for it. You've had a few moments, but they've always sort of waited for it. You're not delusional like Mets fans. And, it's like even Buck Showalter was like, I got to get out of here. I'm Buck Showalter. I can't put up with these people. Just let me leave.
Telling people stop tweeting while I'm making my announcement yesterday. I don't blame him for that.
Yeah. He's just like, hey, we were going to, and then he's probably sitting there thinking, I don't want to be here anymore. Cohen's got a lot of money. Let him just give me something and I'll leave. And I just don't have to put up with this mess anymore. So, you beat Buck Showalter like a lifer, baseball guy. And the Mets just crushed him.
Yeah.
They just did. So good, Buck. Come on. You can come work for the Phillies. They're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs starting tomorrow.
Good luck to the next sacrificial lamb that gets put in the club.
No, it's Craig Counsell. He's going to be the new Mets manager. You watch. They're going to pay him to jump over because they hired the president from Milwaukee, and everything's going to be fine.
Great.
Everything's
my
going to be
God,
fine.
I'm so excited. Hey, can you give Pete Alonso like a 20-year deal? Seriously.
Just wait, 500 for Shohei. All of a sudden, he'll love the East Coast. Just wait. Here he comes. Yeah.
Oh, I got to say, I do not want to see that happen because I want to see the guy do well, but he's going to be injured nonstop. Of course, you would sign a guy, who's already got to have surgery.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Mike, safe travels. Appreciate all the work you're doing at the website at 13WEM, and thank you so much for giving us some time this afternoon.
All right, sounds good, fellas.
You got it there. It's Mike Catalana on his way to jolly old England. Take on the Bills and the Jags in London this Sunday.
Yeah, the last time this happened, that was a game the Bills gave up a big lead. They had this ferocious comeback, only to have E.J. Manuel make a terrible
That was the last London game, right?
Yeah, 2015.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that. And Manuel, well, that was peak Manuel, right? Like, oh, boy, this guy. Not
that was a first-round pick, the Bills.
Not the dude.
No, not him.
Not the dude. We're going to take a break and come back with some takes on tap. I'll drink to that is on the way next in the sports bar.
Time to retire this nickname for this NFL head coach. He's a coward. Which guy is not going to be a head coach? In fact, this coach, I'm going to stand by my take. This coach is not only going to get fired, he's going to end up on Buffalo's staff next year. I've got thoughts on Washington and Philadelphia yesterday. And then also, just my observation yesterday, like the one thing, like we don't have the Buffalo Jills anymore, and I like the drum line. I think the drum line serves a purpose. Sure. There's something else. I don't know. To me, it's like white noise, but why do we even do this out in Orchard Park anymore?
I will, if you want to talk about retiring something, we're going to retire the Patriot Way. The Patriot Way.
Or we're going to rename the Patriot Way.
It's done. It's over. We'll get into that with I'll drink to that. And we'll be joined by Sal Majorana, who joins us here about a half hour or so in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, if you're a new customer, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Go to this site to sign up. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now is the time. There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. The site, again, is FanDuel.com/Mike. Kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
One of the biggest regular season wins for the Buffalo Bills in recent years, 48-20 against Miami. Buffalo retaking first now in the AFC East. There was a damper yesterday, though, the injury to Tre'Davious White. Josh Allen hates to see it.
It breaks my heart. It really does. And I'm not sure the extent of it, but you never want to see your teammates on the floor pounding their fists. You know, it sucks. He's worked his ass off to get back to playing the way we know Trey playing football. And truly, it breaks my heart.
Head coach Sean McDermott will talk to reporters at 4 o'clock. We're assuming we'll get the official word on the Achilles injury to White. Sal Mayoran, a Democrat and Chronicle, will talk some Bills football coming up later this hour. Monday Night Football has the Giants and the Seahawks. Baseball playoffs begin tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Throws in the end zone. It's a trifecta for Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it?
Josh Allen, 4 touchdown passes and a touchdown run.
He's a dog. He's a quarterback that you want to play with. He's a quarterback that gives you that energy, gives you that belief.
I thought it was just a culmination of everyone doing their job.
I still think we have more, but we left a lot out there.
Who's your daddy?
And now the entire team's going to come out and huddle around Tre'Davious. This is a very sad sight as the Cards now coming out on the field. This isn't good at all.
You know, he personifies what it is to be a Buffalo Bill.
Mike Danger.
You're not going to be able to contain all of the big plays. The Bills, and that would be a shock if we came back here on Monday and said, wow, the Bills defense really shut that offense down.
Gene Battaglia.
Did you ever know you're my hero? Oh, wow. Wow. Hero.
And the Bills are in first place in the AFC East with a 48-20 victory.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Some highlights on Victory Monday where Josh Allen was a man on a mission. He started the game 10 of 10, 21 of 25 for 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, also ran for 17 yards and a score, 5 touchdowns on the day. The Fan, Rochester's Man on a Mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today.
Yeah, I mean, if you take away that first week, I mean, name me a quarterback that's played better the last 3 weeks than Josh Allen.
He'll be AFC Offensive Player of the Week again this week, right? Is there anybody standing in his way?
How about 14?
Oh, Diggs?
3 touchdowns?
Sure.
Yeah, like, what do you get? Maybe you give Cole, Offensive Players of the Week. Josh Allen has been spectacular the last 3 weeks. Now, I agree with Mike Catalana. Maybe the week 1 loss, that was the turning point.
It's a wake-up call.
This is, and it's okay to run the ball and set up other things. Yesterday, I really thought, Danger, it was going to be one of these games where, oh my gosh, remember that Rams-Chiefs game on Monday Night Football?
Nobody could stop anybody.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, it's going to be 63-56. Who gets the ball last will win. And then something funny happened. The Bills kept doing it, and the Bills' defense figured out Tua.
Yeah.
And they forced Tua to a second read. And
some great adjustments by Sean McDermott over the course of the afternoon. I mean, there are things that you see when you're at the game, as I was yesterday. And, Gene, you probably recognize this when you're at any home game. But you don't see it always on TV. Like, there was a moment in that first half where I was watching Sean McDermott on the Bills sideline, and he was isolated. There was nobody around him, and he was just looking through page after page after page, picture. He was studying right there and looking at alignments and looking at schemes, and really, like, you could tell he was in a zone yesterday as a coach, in a zone, dialing up the right thing at the right time to make sure they were going to confuse Tua. And if it was going to be one of those situations where, hey, we might not be able to stop each other, but I bet you're going to make a mistake before we make a mistake. Offensively, you'll make a mistake before we make a mistake defensively.
Part of it, too, was Tua hanging on the ball, taking a few sacks, not knowing where to go. And so, yes, Sean McDermott's coaching. Look, we've been critical of McDermott at points on this show, but yesterday, name me a coach in the league that had a better day than Sean McDermott.
Yeah, big day for Sean McDermott.
I'm going to give you like one, and I'll drink to that, some takes here. One coach that honestly had a really bad day, and their team was in it here. This coach should retire his nickname. We can no longer call Ron Rivera Riverboat Ron. Did you see the end of this game? Ron Rivera is our beaten down coach. Exciting finish. Like, whenever Washington and Philadelphia play, it's like, wait a second. Washington's going to give Philadelphia a game. They did. The Commanders down by 7. They score a touchdown with the clock at 0. That's exciting. They don't go for 2. They kick the extra point. Come on, Riverboat. That's your name. You're on the road. Go steal the win right now. Ask why he didn't go for 2. This is the part that kills me. He said he felt his offense was too tired. The tired offense then was suddenly going to win it for you in overtime. What were you playing for the tie? And like, were they going to get more energy in overtime? Yeah. Like, I can't wait for Ron Rivera to be on the Bills coaching staff next year.
You shut your mouth. You keep him off of this coaching staff, Gene. They're doing just fine without Riverboat Ron. They don't need Riverboat Ron. You've got Sean McDermott calling plays.
He will be some special assistant to McDermott. You just
keep him away from this team. Keep that loser energy away from this team. They've got something special happening right now.
Rivera's gone, right? New owner, let's clean house. That's bad yesterday.
It's still early. And I think 3 or 4 weeks, I mean, if you said Washington 2-2 with essentially a rookie quarterback, that was a tough one yesterday. And I like how they bounced back, being demoralized by the Bills, to take the NFC champs to overtime. I know it's a divisional opponent. I'm not going to call it yet for Ron Rivera.
Well, this could be a freezing cold take of mine because, well, the world will change Thursday night because Washington won't get right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, thanks.
Thursday night is National Watch Baseball Night because do we really want to watch Washington?
Well, it's one of the few instances I'll have to hate watch my team on national TV, on a national broadcast, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And by the way, it's setting up perfectly for the Bears to have not just the top overall pick, but the top 2 overall picks come April. And don't worry, they'll find a way to screw it up.
No, what's going to happen is, because of NIL, Caleb Williams was like, you know what? No, I think I'm good. I'm going to stay here.
That's right.
That would be the kick in the pants.
Bo Nix will be like, you know what? I'd rather play my 15th year of college football than get drafted by that organization.
Oh, maybe we can go get Michael Penix. Nope. I'm doing good over here too.
Can we put to rest the Patriot way?
Yes.
Rest in peace to the Patriot way. I'm excited that we advanced at Survivor, Gene, by taking Dallas at home. I'm even more excited to see them hand Bill Belichick the worst loss of his career. He hasn't lost. That was magnificent. And during the Patriots dynasty, we heard so much about Belichick being this guru, this mastermind, the Patriot way. Well, based on his resume, he'll go down as the greatest, if not one of the greatest of all time. I do think you have to put an asterisk next to that title. Because yesterday's loss, it's a blemish on his legacy. Tom Brady made Belichick. Belichick has shown us now, it's a big enough sample size, he can't do anything without the GOAT. Brady left, he still won. New England can't get it figured out with Belichick flying solo, and I can't get enough of it. Angry Bill Belichick, I'll always remember the throwing the phone on the sideline and watching. Like, that's the lasting image I have now of Bill Belichick, not the guy that's hoisting Lombardi trophies. Literally every team left on the Bills' schedule has more appeal than New England. The only 2 Sunday 1 o'clock games left for the Bills this season. Stay down, cheaters.
PU. Yeah. And the one player I do have respect, Matthew Judon. He's hurt now, so that's kind of a bummer. That's only going to get worse. If you go to a Bills game, Danger, this happens to me, like the 4 o'clock game, sometimes a little out of touch because you hear about it, but you don't get to see the highlights. If you're a Bills fan, trust me, go look up the highlights, if you want to call them that, of Dallas and New England. Some of these plays, just fantastic. Mac Jones making a high school mistake. He's on the right hash.
Throwing across the field.
One of the funniest pick sixes you'll see. Field goal attempt coming up for Dallas. Wait a second. There's nobody covering the guy on the right.
Just
Click,
amazing.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Just amazing meltdowns by the New England Patriots. I'm all for it.
Brad actually sent me a message, direct message. I'm going to call it now. Bill O'Brien will be the head coach of the New England Patriots, and he will hire Brandon Staley as his defensive coordinator in 2024. Brad, our Bold Takes show happens before the start of the season.
Yeah.
I like that. But I don't see them getting rid of Belichick. I think he stays. He's earned the right. He's carte blanche. He could be there as long as he wants to be there.
It's going to be sad because he's going to hang on for how long to get to his 5, 6, 7 wins. So like 3 more years. Finally, he'll get the Don Shula. And because you won all those championships, Patriot fan, you can't say anything.
That's right.
This is the price you're going to pay. Just who knows? Maybe they lose enough games and they enter the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. I don't know. After the Bills score, I mean, you probably noticed this, but right now it's just kind of white noise to me. Did you ever notice those guys waving those big Bills flags? Are those guys really needed? Like, are they? They can't be getting paid, right?
I'm Gene, and I don't like flags.
No, it's like, what are we doing with that? Like, I would have to think they're not. It was just one of those thoughts. Like, are you paying these guys because you get a field level seat, and then all you have to do is run out there and wave a flag around after you score a touchdown? Yeah. If you were paid, name me an easier job, a funner job than being the flag waver.
I think you would take it. I think a lot of people would be interested in that. It's like, there are guys that I know that like their dream gig is like, I want to be a bat boy. I'm like, really? Yeah, I think that'd be great. It'd be so much fun. You just hang out in the club. I'm like, okay. And I'm sure there are people out there like, if I could just get on the field, that's all I really want to do is just be on the field. Here, take this flag. Go out there, run when they score, wave it. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. All right, good. Here's payment in the form of tickets or payment in the form of minimum wage or whatever it is.
Right. I would think the payment is like, we're going to let you watch from a really great vantage point. But imagine if you're getting like $100 on top of that. Just to go out there and wave the flag around. I want to apply for that job.
Easy enough, right?
Easy
The
job.
biggest challenge is not spending your $100 after the game on concessions or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that you have this money in your pocket basically for just doing nothing but waving a flag. Yeah, I would sign up for that.
That is going to be my task now. I want to find out, do the flag waivers actually get paid?
They have to.
In Buffalo.
They have to. Nobody works for free.
The Jills work for free, and look how that ended up.
Well, that's why they're not around anymore. They decided we don't need to pay the Jills. We don't want to pay the Jills, so the Jills will cease to exist.
I wonder if the Drumline is paid. Do you think the Drumline's paid because they do their side gigs? They're all kind of doing their own thing.
Is that where do you draw the line on who's a team employee, who gets paid, who gets a taste, who gets what? I mean, they're getting something. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They're getting some. I mean, if you're the Drumline, you're getting really, really good seats, right? You're right up front in the end zone. You're there. You're playing the drums. You're doing the whole thing.
Yeah, and I would think in terms of feedback, musicians love feedback. Like the fact that you're firing up a crowd there with everything, that's got to be a fun gig. There is one negative, though, for the flag. And the flag wavers have been around forever. When the Bills get blown out. I remember that New Orleans game. Nate Peterman throws a touchdown. The stadium is like 20% full of like da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, like pretending like, hey, this is really
You have
exciting.
to do it because tradition is tradition, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it because you can't not do it. And so, like, is somebody really excited in that situation? Like, oh, well, hey, at least we scored. I mean, the only person that's excited at that point is the person who won a bet or won a fantasy football. Right, Peterman threw a touchdown. Good thing I had I didn't start him. Never mind. Can't be excited about anything there. That was, I remember that game. And I do remember walking out of the stadium hearing the Let's Go Buffalo. So I'm like, oh, my God. You can't be serious. All right, so it's 4:15. Do we have a bit of breaking news?
Okay, well, no, this is not breaking news. This is our friend Norm at St. John Fisher University informing me the flag waivers get paid.
Of course. Gino, you can't run a company now and expect people to work for free. That doesn't happen.
Okay, name me an easier job than being the flag waver. You get paid for that?
In that stadium, easier job than the flag waiver.
I would have to think like, okay, you know what? You're going to pick up garbage after the game, but in between, though, you're going to wave the flag. All right. I would think maybe it's this and you're doing this. But if you're just going out there, now I got to find out how much they actually get paid. I would guess it's $100 flat fee. Maybe it's minimum wage.
It's at least minimum wage.
Yeah.
And it's probably a little bit more, or it's minimum wage plus X amount of tickets for family or friends or whatever it might be, right? Like, you can't just give them, they can't work for free. Nobody works for free. Nobody should work for free. You can reach out to us on Twitter's, on Elon's Twitter, X.
X, whatever we call it.
Whatever you want to call it. I feel bad. John, Yacht Rock John, Captain Obvious from Yacht Club, was going back and forth with me all weekend. I'm going to be in this lot. We're going to be here. We're going to do the Hammers lot. We're going to go to the Pinto Ron tailgate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I want to meet up. But John was there, had a great time. This great picture of John that he just sent us, who's suffering from indigestion today. All I heard were the Dolphins talking about serving up 70 burgers. Go Bills. Flip at the Fan Rochester. Is there a stud corner we could trade for on a bad team, along with some picks and Elam? I feel we have to find a corner as good as Trey is.
Who's good, though? Like, I'm just asking, and how do you fit them under this? If they're good, then they're getting paid a lot. I'll give you a corner. Getting paid $10 million. You're not getting Stephon Gilmore out of Dallas, but that's kind of Jonathan Jones, $10 million in New England. I don't think he's going to do it.
I know what you're saying, Flip, and I know what Catalana said last hour, and you mentioned it as well. Brandon Beane is probably picking up the phone. He's probably fishing. He's probably asking a lot of questions and reaching out to agents. But I think the idea that you're going to find somebody that you can just plug in right away to be the next Trey White is not attainable for what the Bills are doing. I feel like what they're doing and then what they continue to do is find guys, develop guys that they like, and watch them kind of flourish. And even a guy that's a late round draft pick like a Dane Jackson or Christian Benford, those guys are seeing the field more than Kyer Elam. Kyer Elam is somebody you're expecting to step up now. Ingram is another guy that I think could get, some run here, a practice squad guy. And then if you add anything at corner, it's probably that. It's probably somebody that you can plug into the practice squad and wait to have their opportunity.
I'm going to stretch the boundaries here. Breaking news. If we can fire the sounder for breaking news here.
Ow! Ow! It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Just a confirmation of what we knew. Bills head coach Sean McDermott has just confirmed it is a torn Achilles. Tre'Davious White is out for the season. McDermott saying very difficult, very unfortunate. It's just a shame.
Yeah. We kind of sensed it was something devastating based on his reaction, based on Trey White's reaction. He tried to get up, tried to give it a go. Couldn't do it. It was very, similar to how Aaron Rodgers dealt with his Achilles when he was injured. Tried to get up, couldn't do it. Like, you just realize, okay, something's wrong. And when you know something's wrong with your body, something that's not just a bump, a bruise, like it affects you. You emotionally are affected by it. And Trey White was emotional leaving that field because he knew, like, not only is my season done, this might be it.
The Achilles, it's like the what I've heard, it's like a Venetian blind when you tear it. It's just there's no doubt in your mind what just happened. That might not be the only injury. So if you noticed yesterday, Christian Bedford he took that big hit, but he came back.
It's like a shoulder or something. Right?
Yeah. So McDermott's saying that Christian Bedford is day to day. But since he came back, I'm sure he'll be all right. So.
Yeah. How effective was he when he came back? I mean, I feel like they were using him on special teams a little bit. I don't know if he's normally out there on special teams, but like when he came back initially, it was Trey and Dane. And then I saw Benford on special teams when it was still Trey and Dane. And then eventually Benford got back out there after Trey. So, yeah, that's something to kind of pay attention to here through the course of the week in preparation for London.
Yeah, and McDermott did not commit to activating Kyer Elam. So he's already on the active roster. What I mean is making him a game day active. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
You're going to want to see him show up in practice this week and make sure that he can do everything that you're going to ask him to do if you do indeed make him active for the first time this season, which is bizarre to say. But it's a great point by Catalana last hour. Hey, look, He's had opportunity, I'm sure, to show up and show them that he's ready to play, but for whatever reason, they're not giving him a jersey on game day. Maybe this opportunity is one that Kyrie Elam cannot squander if he wants his time in Buffalo to be success. It's been a rocky start.
It hasn't shown up to you and me and a lot of Bills fans, though. That's the thing. Like when you heard week 1, wait, he's inactive? He did not beat out Benford. I would say he did not beat out Dane Jackson. But it wasn't like I looked at him in camp in the preseason and said, ooh, there's a problem there. So something the coaches were kind of identifying. So just to me, I'm not going to wave my finger and say that ain't it. Maybe it's they're sitting him just to make sure that his
just imagine that it's a difference in philosophy. You know, the kind of player he was versus the kind of player they want him to be. And it might be a little square peg round hole situation where it's like maybe he can't or isn't capable of being in this kind of defense, a defense where you need to be disciplined. You need to know where you need to be. Like we've heard that Elam is a great press corner. He's a good hands-on press corner. Not necessarily what you're looking for out of this defense. You need guys that are disciplined, that know where their zone is, know where they need to be, know where they need to line up, and know where all the pieces fall into place. Man, there's just so many plays where you see it and how it can affect even an offense like Miami yesterday. If you're not disciplined or you're not smart enough to know where you need to be, you're no good to us. I don't care how physically gifted you are. Sal Majorana, the Democrat and Chronicle, going to join us next. We'll get his take on a victory Monday, and we'll look ahead to a trip to London up next for the Buffalo Bills take on the Jags. That's on the way here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White is indeed out for the season. Head coach Sean McDermott telling reporters this hour that White has torn his Achilles. As for the win itself, 48-20 over the Miami Dolphins, the coach pleased to see guys like Josh Allen and Steph Diggs deliver.
Big-time players have big-time games or in these type settings, right? So complementary football is important. It's a team win, but your star players have to play at star levels in these games, and that's a weekly thing. And those guys played at that level.
Now it's a trip over to London to face Jacksonville. We'll talk to Sal Mayoran, a Democrat and Chronicle, joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Monday Night Football tonight has the Giants and the Seahawks. Baseball playoffs begin tomorrow, getting the byes in the American League, Baltimore and Houston. In the National League, it's Atlanta and the Dodgers. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It breaks my heart. It really does. And I'm not sure the extent of it, but you never want to see your teammates on the floor pounding their fists. It sucks. He's worked his ass off to get back to playing the way we know Trey playing football. And truly it breaks my heart.
Josh Allen postgame yesterday. Now we know the extent of that Trey White injury. It is a season-ending Achilles injury. We bring in Sal Mayorana, the Democrat and Chronicle. With your instant reaction, Sal, that's a tough one to replace for this Bills defense. We had a feeling it was bad yesterday. We got confirmation on just how bad it was. Now, how are you, Sal?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm certainly better than Trey White. That was really unfortunate because he did go through a lot with the knee injury to rehab that and get back to playing. And McDermott, said today actually that he was really starting to round into form and was starting to look like the Trey White pre-injury, because that wasn't the case last year. He struggled when he came back last year, but he was really starting to come around, and he's such an important piece of that defense. So to have that happen yesterday, that was a gut punch for the Bills. It kind of put a damper on what should have been a glorious day over there at One Bills Drive for sure.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that glorious day, but follow up on, all right, so now it's Dane Jackson and Kaiir Elam, you would assume is going to be active. Your thoughts on what Brandon Beane should do here? Do you expect him to go out there and see what might be available, or do you think there is enough here on the roster? Maybe you promoted Jamarcus Ingram from the practice squad, Sal.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they'll look in case there's a Hail Mary out there, but I would be very surprised if they're going to make a move outside the organization. Look, Kaiir Elam is a first-round pick, and he was outplayed by Benford and Jackson, and that's why he hasn't gotten a jersey these first 4 weeks. But he's there for a reason. If an injury happens, he's the next man up. So I would assume that Jackson gets the start Sunday, and then Elam's going to be the backup at both sides. And then Jamarcus Ingram is a possibility. He did pretty well in training camp and preseason. I know they like him. They brought him back to the practice squad. So I guess he would be a possibility to be called up into Trey White's roster spot. But right now it's Jackson and Elam who have to hold the fort down because I don't think anybody is going to be worth it outside to bring in.
Sal, what about Elam in terms of the first quarter of the season here and him not getting on the field? I mean, we hear whispers that it's like, oh, he just can't play in this system, or he's just not thriving in this system. You get a chance to talk to these guys and be around practice. I mean, have your eyes seen anything? Have you heard anything as to why Elam can't get that jersey?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is the Bills picked this guy with the intention that they thought they could coach him up and learn how to play in their zone-heavy scheme. He was a press man corner at Florida. He had great athleticism, great speed. They fell in love with that. And I think, honestly, they made the pick thinking that their coaching staff was going to be able to transform this guy into a, scheme-specific, heavy zone cornerback, and it hasn't worked out. He has not been able to make that adaptation. And I say that even though last year when he did get into games, it wasn't like he was a disaster. I mean, he played okay, but I think from a consistent day-to-day basis in practice, he just doesn't show enough to the coaching staff, and that's why Benford and Jackson, beat him out. So they've got to figure it out. I mean, I'm not going to blame him for being a first-round bust because he's not a bust. If he had been drafted by many other teams, he's probably on the field playing on Sundays. But for this particular team, he was the wrong fit. And that can't, people are saying, oh, he's a bust, get rid of him. No, it's not his fault. It's kind of the Bills' fault for thinking that they could change the guy into what they actually needed.
Sal Marana, Democrat and Chronicle, our guest here. So as far as the defense, is there a coach in the league that had a better day yesterday than Sean McDermott, Sal? Like, what did he do against the Dolphins, the adjustments, in your opinion? Because, my goodness, this seems like a much different defense we're seeing in Buffalo as opposed to the way things ended up last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that McDermott has called the defense a little bit more aggressively than Leslie Frazier did. And, look, it's McDermott's defense. So even when Frazier was here, ultimately McDermott had the oversay, but he left it in Leslie's hands. And on game days, it was largely Leslie making the play calls. I've noticed in the first 4 games for sure that Sean has dialed up more pressure. And, of course, it also helps, too, that they went out and got some guys. I mean, Leonard Floyd is a very nice pickup on the edge for them. Rousseau is really rounded into form. Oliver's playing the best he's ever played in Buffalo. So they're getting good production, and they haven't even gotten Von Miller on the field. So it's been very impressive what the Bills have done up front. But, I like the way McDermott is being – and it's not like he's sending blitzes every play. They're not blitzing very much at all. He's dialing up pressure with really good schemes up front, and it's been a difference maker for the Bills defense so far.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the play of 2 guys that you mentioned, because you want to talk about how, and we do it all the time. We laugh. Oh, they're developing. They're going to develop a player. It's like, no, it's an instant gratification society. We want players that are going to show up day one and be superstars. But the development of Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau, talk on that a little bit, Sal. It's been remarkable this season.
Yeah, Oliver has been great. I mean, I was fully on board with letting him play out this season and having him test free agency, and they thought better of it and re-upped him for 4 more years, and I wasn't really on board with it. But this is the player that we all thought Ed Oliver should have been from day one as the number 9 overall pick. He's been a difference maker. He's been dominant in the middle. He's getting pressure. He's making plays in the run game that ordinarily he hasn't made in the past. He's been a different player. He told us when he signed this contract, he said, I'm going to prove all you wrong and I'm going to outplay this contract. And so far he's holding up to that. Rousseau has been, I think, a very good player for them for 2 years, even though he's young and he hasn't been a dynamic sacker. He's gotten sacks, but he hasn't been like a guy you game plan for. Right now, he might start turning into that guy. He is a player that you really have to be wary of where he is because he's playing great on the edge. They've moved him inside a little bit, which helps because he's so tall. That created a problem, I know, at least on one play yesterday. In fact, I think one of his sacks came when he was lined up inside. So that's something they can do with him. To have that big body in the middle is really kind of a nice thing to have. So he's been a nice player for them. Their big decision is what are they going to do when Von Miller comes back, which probably won't be this week. But whenever he does, who's going to sit? I'm not sure who sits on that front line.
Yeah, whoever sits is going to get rested there for sure. Got a tweet here, Sal. Didn't hear Rapp's name a ton yesterday. I assume that was a good thing. How was his performance? Taylor Rapp yesterday, I didn't notice him, but just the question here, because certainly the Bills' defense overall was sound yesterday. Do you see them making a switch at some point here, Taylor Rapp, going from Jordan Poyer over to Rapp?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think when Poyer is healthy again, he'll play. But this is exactly why they got Taylor Rapp. I mean, they were smart enough to realize that both of their safeties are coming off heavily injury-plagued seasons. Obviously, Hyde had the serious injury, and Poyer had like 4 different things go wrong last year. They're both getting older. They're 32 or 3, whatever it is. So they realize these guys are probably not making it through the season, and they got a very good 4-year starter in Taylor Rapp with the Rams. He was a good player for them. So it's a nice little luxury to have, and we've already seen the benefit with Poyer already getting hurt. So, I think Rapp is going to play as long as Poyer is out. I think when Poyer comes back, he'll be the guy. But I like Taylor Rapp as a signing. I think he played all 65 snaps yesterday. I think he gave up 2 receptions for 30 yards. It wasn't a big deal. He played well. I mean, and the guy is right. Whoever tweeted, not hearing his name is always a good thing for a DB.
What about the play of Josh Allen? And we don't bring you on, Sal, to tell us what a great game he had yesterday, but you are around these guys. You're there at the press conferences. You're there after the game. You're around them enough to see things that a lot of us can't see. And with Josh Allen, I'm curious, was week 1 and his performance against the Jets, was that a wake-up call for Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cliche to say, but I think it's true. I think he and the Bills maybe needed to lose that game. I mean, it's never good to lose any game. There's only 17 in the NFL, and especially a division game. But that one really did seem to strike them at the core. I mean, I don't know if they needed a wake-up call in week 1, but that one certainly got their attention, and they've been the best team in the NFL since that day. I mean, obviously the 49ers are playing great. Dallas stubbed its toe last week against Arizona. I think the Bills have really, the last 3 weeks, the Bills have been almost an unbeatable team. I mean, they've won the last 3 games by 90 points. I mean, you don't get much better than that. So losing that Jets game, hey, ultimately that might be something we look back on and say that was probably needed at the time to get these guys rolling, because they've got a very tough schedule. Once they get through the first half of the year, they've got a brutal schedule to get through. So they need to stack as many wins as they can.
So before we talk about the London game, just what the atmosphere was like yesterday. And I guess for Bills fans, this is the price of being good. You're not getting another 1 o'clock home game until New Year's Eve here. That's everything else in the night, or 4:25. So you've been covering this team going back to the 1980s, and recency bias is real. I get that. But was that the loudest you've heard the Bills fan base in a game, Sal?
Yeah, honestly, I can't say that it was because I can't hear, guys. I'm in the press box. We are literally sealed in. Gene knows you can't really hear the crowd. I mean, obviously you see them going crazy, and you can hear a little bit, but I'm not out in the stadium, so I can't tell how loud it was. But there's no doubt it was a raucous crowd, and McDermott made mention of it. I mean, he says that occasionally, but I think he really meant it yesterday, that was as loud as it's ever been. I've been there for, huge playoff games, AFC championship games back when there were 80,000 people as opposed to 70,000. So I'm sure it was louder back then. But yeah, recency bias, it was pretty damn loud yesterday.
Sal, Jacksonville, for whatever reason, always seems to give the Bills trouble, and that's who they're facing off on Sunday. I mean, do you see anything in the Bills' opponent that might reverse this trend of the Bills struggling against Jacksonville, or is this game going to be a little bit closer than I think a lot of people anticipate, knowing that the Bills have looked as good as they've looked the last 3 weeks here?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was right at the top of my newsletter for Friday, and I pointed out that they've only played these guys 18 times, in their history, and Jacksonville has given them some of the worst losses they've ever suffered. I mean, really. It started the very first game. They beat, in Jim Kelly's last game, they beat them in a playoff game that nobody gave them a chance to win, and they did it. And then you go through the list of just ridiculous losses to Jacksonville. The home opener in 2004, one of the worst losses imaginable. The loss down there in 2021, the game in London when the Bills rallied to go ahead and probably should have won if not for a bad pass interference penalty. So yeah, these Jaguars have been a royal pain in the ass, quite frankly, to the Bills through the years. This is going to be a good game. I mean, Jacksonville has gotten off to they've kind of sputtered so far. They haven't been the team that I think a lot of people thought they would. Everyone kind of had them running away with the AFC South, and the whole division's 2-2. So I think they're going to be, they're going to be ready for the Bills. They've been over there in London. They've already played the game Sunday there. So that's a slight advantage, but not as much as people think. Trevor Lawrence is due to get going. So, if the Bills are down 2 starting DBs, maybe this is the day he gets it going. So it'll be a good test for the Bills.
It's funny, all those games you mentioned, you left off my favorite one. You hold a playoff opponent 10 points in the playoffs, and somehow you lose. Oh, yeah. My gosh.
But at least that game, though, that Bills team really had no business being in the playoffs. I mean, they really did. They kind of lucked out. by getting in on the Tyler Bass, Andy Dalton miracle. And then Jacksonville was a pretty good team that year. But, yeah, the Bills did play terrible, too, so it was a pretty ugly game.
Now, Sal, does your coverage take you to London this week?
Yeah, I'll be leaving. I'm leaving Thursday, driving to New York, flying out of New York, and then get there Friday morning.
What is that like over there, Sal? For all of us who cannot get over there, every time I watch it, it's like, are they really into it? Do they know what's going on? Or should we expect there's a lot of tourists here that are coming over from Western New York?
No. When I was there for the game in 2015, very knowledgeable crowd. There were lots of NFL fans, pretty good showing from the Bills fans and Jaguars fans, but the casual fans who were, Europeans just going to the game, they all knew what was going on. Football is a big deal over there. They do enjoy, our version of football. So I expect it to be a really good crowd. No, they're into it. And London's great. I mean, it was probably the coolest city that I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of places, but London was really, really a cool city. It was just so diverse and just interesting, the history. I'm bringing my wife this time, which I couldn't do last time. So we're going to go, and we don't have much time, but we're going to, tour the city, and it's a great place. So anybody who's going over there, you're going to have great memories of that game, of being there and then coming home. Really cool place.
Sal, always appreciate when you can join us here in the sports bar and talk about the Buffalo Bills with us. I want to make sure you have plenty of time to talk about everything you're working on here during London Week at the DNC and everything else that you're working on as well.
Yeah, just the usual Bills coverage. It doesn't stop. It's a little more challenging this week with the travel, getting all the stories written in time. But, just DemocratandChronicle.com, and all my stuff is there. Yankee season mercifully over, but the newsletter will carry on, still in the off season. Pinstripe People is that. People can subscribe to that for free if they want. Just reach me on Twitter. But, yeah, glad that that's actually over with, because that was getting tiring by the end of the year.
Yeah, well, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you for your take. By the way, congratulations on finishing with a winning record. I mean, it's pretty hollow, but...
Yeah, proud moment for the Yankees there.
They're really going to bring everybody back, Sal. Are they not? I mean, where do they go from here?
I don't know. It looked... I kind of had my doubts about Boone getting fired, but really the last month. Just the wind seems to be favoring bringing him back, which I'm not agreeing with. I think he's a lousy manager, but it looks like they're going to run it back. But they do need to make a lot of changes with this roster. It's not going to happen in 1 year. I mean, because Hal's not going to spend. He's already spending a lot of money on an overpaid, bloated, aging roster. There's not too much more they can do, roster-wise. So they need some of these kids who I wasn't really all that impressed with. The bulk of them really. Some of them have to step up and be real contributors, because they're not going to be able to turn this thing around overnight in this offseason.
All right, so think of everybody, all Yankee fans, Met fans, Red Sox fans, are all those kind of like bystanders here this postseason. What would be the World Series matchup you would want to see here, Sal?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see the Braves, and I'm kind of tired of the Dodgers. The Braves are just a fun, exciting, mega talented team, so I'd love to see them in there. And on the AL side, if I had to pick a team that I want to watch, Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean, they're an AL East rival, but I don't have the same hatred for them that I do the Rays, the Jays, and the Red Sox. I don't know why. Probably because they've been so bad for so long. But that's another fun, young, exciting team. And I think that'd be a fun World Series if those two teams were to get in. If it's not Baltimore, I'd like to see Texas make it, but I'm not sure Texas has the pitching to do it. So I think Baltimore and Atlanta would be a cool series.
It'll be a lot of fun, Sal. We're looking forward to it. Looking forward to your coverage this week. Hope you have safe travels, and thanks again for making the time for us, bud.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
There he is. Sal Majorana, Democrat and Chronicle, giving us his thoughts on not just the Major League Baseball postseason, but of course the Buffalo Bills.
I think he's right on, though. Like, if everybody is expecting Brandon Beane, go make a deal, go get a Patrick Peterson.
Surprise me, man. It would really surprise me.
No, because you have two guys that, okay, let's see it from Elam and Ingram. I think what we've seen in Ingram, it's not somebody you want to start, but just a little spot duty here and there. Now, of course, another injury or two, and then the conversation changes. But as far as starters, Benford has been a pleasant surprise, has he not? And the reason why Kyrie Elam is on the bench is because, well, the guy drafted in the same draft class is actually better. That's point number one. Point number two, and I know a lot of Bills fans will disagree with me on this point, I do like Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson's going to give up some pass plays. Most corners do give up pass plays. Dane Jackson could do something that I want my corners to do. That's tackle, okay? Run support, that sort of stuff. He'll get beat, but not for lack of effort or physicality. I like Dane Jackson.
Happy hour is right around the corner here in the sports bar. It's a Victory Monday. You can share your reaction from yesterday's win over Miami at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. You can reach out to us on X. That's Elon's Twitter, at The Fan Rochester. Oh, this is a tweet that we might have to react to in happy hours as one of our regulars, Chris, in Kentucky. When you guys finally get to 1,000 combined subscribers on YouTube and Twitch and sing Into the Night, would Mike Danger sing it as Saul Rosenberg and Gene Battaglia sing it as Bill Belichick? That is somebody that's in the upper echelon of listeners. He knows not just the characters on this show, he knows the voices that we do on this show.
She's just 16 years old.
Oh, if I could fly, I wouldn't because I could fall and I could hurt my ace pipe.
Leave her alone.
Maybe, Chris. Maybe that's what you'll get.
If I could fly, I'd pick you up.
No, I wouldn't pick you up because I can't, because I don't have any shoes on, because they fell off when I fell down the stairs trying to fly to pick her up.
I'd show you a love like you've ever seen. Never seen.
Let's get to happy hour.
What are we doing?
Thanks for tweeting us. We have reputable guys like Sal Mayer on and join us, and then we wrap up with that. I don't know if that's the beauty or the curse of the sports bar, but thank you for bringing that up, Chris. We'll work on that. By the way, we appreciate you helping us build our community on YouTube and Twitch. At The Fan Rochester, subscribe and follow, and maybe Gene and I will get into Belichick and Saul mode just in time to sing Into the Night at a Friday Football Talk Live. Happy hour next. Your calls, 866-4326, 866-4FAN. As we got a lot to recap from yesterday's win in Orchard Park here in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on The Fan. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's me, Mike Danger, for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. And right now, if you're a new customer, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now is the time. There's no better time to get in on the action. FanDuel.com/Mike is the site to sign up. FanDuel.com/MIKE as we kick off the NFL season. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Again, FanDuel.com/Mike to put some wind in the sails. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for
Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills corner Tre'Davious White is indeed out for the season. Head coach Sean McDermott last hour telling reporters that indeed White tore his Achilles. Teammate Josh Allen hates to see it.
It breaks my heart. It really does. And I'm not sure the extent of it, but you never want to see your teammates on the floor pounding their fists. It sucks. He's worked his ass off to get back to playing the way we know Trey playing football. And truly it breaks my heart.
One other injury note, Christian Benford is listed as day-to-day for the week. He did return yesterday. He's got a shoulder injury. We will have, of course, the pregame coming up 6 a.m. The Bills in London facing the Jaguars this Sunday. Monday Night Football has the Giants and the Seahawks. The baseball playoffs begin tomorrow. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Throws in the end zone. It's a trifecta for Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it?
Josh Allen, 4 touchdown passes and a touchdown run.
Man, he's a dog. He's a quarterback that you want to play with. He's a quarterback that gives you that energy, gives you that belief.
I thought it was just a culmination of everyone doing their job.
I still think we have more, but we left a lot out there.
Who's your daddy?
And now the entire team's going to come out and huddle around Tre'Davious. This is a very sad sight as the Cards now coming out on the field. This isn't good at all.
He personifies what it is to be a Buffalo Bill.
Mike Danger.
You're not going to be able to contain all of the big plays. The Bills, and that would be a shock if we came back here on Monday and said, wow, the Bills defense really, really shut that offense down.
Gene Battaglia.
Did you ever know you're my hero? Oh, wow. Wow. Hero.
And the Bills are in first place in the AFC East with a 48-20 victory.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Which stat line is more impressive? 21 of 25 for 324 touchdowns, no interceptions, plus rushing for 17 yards and a score, or 6 catches, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, who's the AFC Offensive Player of the Week? Is that what you're saying here?
It's one of those two.
Yeah, I'd give him Cole. I mean, that's the way I think if you ask both of those guys, yeah, let's split it here. Look, Josh Allen, perfect passer rating. Bill says this is what you wanted out of Josh Allen. No more hero ball. Smart passes. Smart football. Plain and simple. What was the phrase we jumped all over on Ken Dorsey there earlier in the season after the Jets loss? Smart football, not conservative football.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we've seen here the last 3 weeks. So we were joined earlier by Sal Mayorana, and he said, sure, it's cliche, but that was a wake-up call week 1 against the Jets. You can't play like that in this league. And when you play the way they're capable of, my goodness, to put up 48, they could have put up 63. At one point, I'm thinking, wouldn't this be ironic if the Buffalo Bills put up 70 against Miami?
Yeah, I want us to remember this because there are moments of frustration that creep into our fandom when we hear or when we don't get the result that we expect, and certainly week 1 was one of those. I remember saying in the offseason, I believe Ken Dorsey is actually really good at his job. I know that he's not going to win every game, but given what he was given, first-time play caller last year, you're following up Brian Daboll, who had his success. Hey, yesterday, what a great game plan, just keeping that defense of Miami off balance, different motion packages, personnel packages. Your offense ends up with over 400 yards of offense, 7.4 yards a play, and 48 points. That's a good, well-run, coordinated offense by Ken Dorsey. For anybody that thought Sean McDermott should have lost his job or should lose his job, let's remember the adjustments that he made in the first half of this game to prevent the Dolphins, after those first 2 drives where you thought this is going to be a shootout, nobody's stopping anybody. After those first 2 drives, 44 offensive plays for Miami, just 251 yards, 6 points. The defense did what it needed to do. You had drives ending in punts for Miami, turnovers for Miami, and Sean McDermott's defense. He's unlocked something in Ed Oliver. He's unlocked something in Greg Rousseau. He's certainly unlocked something in Terrell Bernard, who had another great day. Bernard and Milano look like the best linebacker tandem right now in the NFL.
Who has a better defensive line in the NFL right now? I'm sure Eagle fans are saying, hey, us, okay, sure, you're very good, Niners, but in the AFC, the answer is Buffalo right now. And the fact that Von Miller is going to begin practice this week. Now, the way this works is the Bills have 3 weeks to activate him. So he could practice this week, get himself up to speed, do it next week, do it the week after, and maybe you're looking at the Buccaneer game on a Thursday night at the end of the month.
Sure.
Maybe you're looking at the Patriot game the week before. My point is, that whole defensive line, Ed Oliver, this is what you were hoping for. Rousseau has taken a step up. Daquan Jones. And a guy that I don't know if the Bills are going to be able to afford to keep next year because some team's going to be like, hey, we need defensive line help. A.J. Epineza, you want to talk about a player that we bashed here over the years? A.J. being the top pick of that 2020 class, a second-round pick, but nonetheless, we were looking at him. He's figuring it out. He understands, hey, if I can't get to the quarterback,
he's making plays.
Yeah, he's making plays.
He's making plays. Welcome to Happy Hour. You're in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia on a Victory Monday. We'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. We appreciate you listening however you may be doing so. Locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can find all of our guest appearances and our shows in podcast form when you search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows. We've got our video stream up for you at The Fan Rochester on YouTube, also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, and you even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Yeah, our phone number 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Chris in South Central Kentucky listening on the Odyssey app.
There's our guy.
Yeah, what's going on, Chris?
Hey, I just wanted to say actual laughter was produced when I heard Saul and Bill singing some Benny Mardones. Actual laughter was produced.
Well, that's good. It was your idea, Chris, so thank you for feeding us the idea.
Yeah, Chris, our writer, we don't pay.
We're just trained monkeys here. We just do what people... We're always here to take requests, Chris.
All right. Well, I did call in with another thing as well. You know, we've seen the best of Josh Allen. We have seen the worst of Josh Allen. And yesterday, I saw a throw from him that I just thought, this guy is really finally putting it all together. It was the throw to Cook coming out of the backfield. Yes. He was looking downfield, and if he had taken that shot, I certainly wouldn't have blamed him because Kohu and the other cornerbacks and safeties, they couldn't cover anything, but he was looking. He just saw Cook coming out of the backfield, and it's probably the least physically impressive throw that he had, but I thought that was just his best throw. He put his guy to make a big play, and I saw that, and I was just like, he is finally putting it all together.
It helps when you were facing Miami defense at times that didn't know how to tackle, and I don't know if Stephon Diggs is going to go up against a corner as bad as Kohu was yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a gross mismatch.
But to Chris's point, I mean, some of the throws that Allen makes, I mean, think about how bad the quarterback play was with this organization for so long. We're going to be talking about Jacksonville throughout the course of the week. Remember that Jacksonville game with E.J. Manuel in London and just how bad that all felt.
Remember, boy, some of these losses, the Jacksonville, most terrifying losses where you lose on opening day to Byron Leftwich a couple of 4th and 10 plays. You lose that game in London. You score 3 points with Tyrod and Peterman in a playoff game.
That's right. And now think about what you get to see. You probably take for granted just how excellent his play can be. The throws that he makes. I mean, the touchdown pass to Davis to set the tone. Was there a prettier pass thrown? It was just perfectly timed, exactly at the angle you needed to be. It was just exceptional. Just really, really great quarterback play. We've seen it here now for 3 consecutive weeks out of Josh Allen. And as we stated at the beginning of Happy Hour, it'd be surprising to me if he's not your AFC Offensive Player of the Week this week, or at minimum, you make him a co-player of the week with his wide receiver, Steph Diggs, who had three touchdowns in one game. Are you not entertained? That was fantastic.
Chris, have a good week, buddy. Appreciate you listening.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Chris in South Central Kentucky. It opens the line at 866-4326. Okay, the injury aside to Trey White, the only negative thing I can say yesterday, what was Drew Bledsoe doing? Was he drinking his own wine? How can you forget the actual fight song? Or is he just revealing he's really a Patriot, not a Buffalo Bill?
I don't know, man.
That was terrible.
That felt like, oh boy, this is gonna be a long afternoon. If he didn't, like there was a question mark at the end of it. It's like, no, buddy. Hey, it's not a hard thing. Did you not score enough points when you were here to have that embedded in your brain? How do you not know the chant? If you see him in the in the airport, somebody's going, hey, what? Where? How do you screw that up?
Someday we're going to get Drew Bledsoe on the show because I'm sure there'll be something he would want to promote, and I think that's going to be question number 1. That's embarrassing. I understand. I actually have sympathy for somebody that freezes during the national anthem, and maybe because it's a difficult chore. But hey, that's not a difficult thing to forget.
Pretty easy, pretty easy one there. At least he got the "Where else would you rather be?" right. I mean, then you would have known Drew's sauced. Drew doesn't even know where he is right now. He can't even say "Where else would you rather be" than right here, right now. He doesn't even know the fight song. Yeah, given how that went, I was nervous. Beginning of the game. I'm like, oh boy. And then it was back and forth. I'm like, okay, nobody's stopping anybody today, I guess. I like our chances. We could score more points.
I think we've kind of come to the conclusion, what's our position here on the show? Our position is this: when it comes to how do you replace Tre'Davious White, the answer is already on the roster. Like, sure, we could have a month of football go by here, which the trade deadline coming up on the 31st. It's practically a month away, and things can change here in 2 or 3 weeks. But as things stand right now, I am going to put my flag proudly in the ground and say Dane Jackson is just fine as a corner 2, and Christian Benford is surprisingly good as a corner 1. The question, Danger, is Kaiir Elam. What do we expect out of Elam?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. Sean McDermott today declining to say whether or not he would make Elam active on the roster. You can tweet us at the Fan Rochester. On X, on Twitter, as Andrew did, could possibly target A.J. Terrell from Atlanta for the right price. Without a quarterback, the Falcons aren't going anywhere, so a quick rebuild could be in order down there. Why would you do him a favor, Andrew? Why would you bring in somebody from the outside who you don't know has familiarity with your system? You have guys in Elam, in Ingram, and if they've shown anything over the course of the last couple of years, they can actually develop guys that they bring in from scratch. Guys like Benford, guys like Jackson, guys like Rousseau, Ed Oliver. These are all guys that have kind of blossomed into their current state, and it took time and care and patience to get them to where they are. I don't think bringing in an outsider, they could, but it's not going to be the big splashy name. It's not going to be the guy that's got a ton of reps. It's going to be the guy that can add to the practice squad.
Like last year, they picked up Dean Marlowe at safety. Somebody like, oh, you've been here and we're flipping a 7th round pick, and if we need you, that's good to have you around. Some people are suggesting Levi Wallace. I hope there's a better option than Levi Wallace. I don't know where the Steelers are going, Danger. That was not a good loss for them.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I'm with you. I believe that if Brandon Beane does anything, it's not going to be the big name splash play. It'll be the let's just add a guy that you've probably never heard of or forgot about that we can throw on the practice squad and break glass in case of emergency.
Or maybe there's somebody on a practice squad right now around the league that, we like that guy. We didn't get him in the draft. Let's bring him in. Our buddy Steven Victor joining us at 866-4326. Hey, Steve.
Hey, fellas. So, after Drew's performance, did they put him in TKO spikes little timeout section in the stadium or what?
I'm telling you, Steve, I don't know that he knew where he was because you can't screw that up. And then you throw him in the suite where you have the obstructed view. Drew's probably like, I don't even care. I'm loaded, man. I'm just get me another bottle of my wine and then let's get this over with. I'm actually a Patriots guy, in case you didn't know.
Those are the seats we should have gave him after that.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like that. Just have your walk-off shot at 866 4th Fan.
Yeah, and it was a Catalana that said they should just rotate between Thurman and
Thurman, Kelly.
Yeah, just rotate between the guys that are here. Just have them every other week. You could have Thurman one week, you could have Tally one week, and just rotate with the guys that are still around. Instead of bringing in a guy like Bledsoe, no, there's no question mark. There's no question mark, Drew. You gotta know what you're doing.
I'm watching this. I'm like, this is a bad omen. This is not good.
It wasn't a good omen.
No.
But it turned out all right. All right, so omen's out the window. It's fine. The Bills get the win by 4 touchdowns.
The question here, a little close to home for you, how did Leah like her first Bills game? Is she a convert?
All right, so my daughter, first ever Bills game, and she never really showed an interest in going to a Bills game or an NFL game. She, like me, Bears. We're Bears fans. Like, she grew up loving the Bears and watching the Bears with me when she was a toddler, and then she gets her own interests and kind of like, goes on her own path and doesn't really care as much about watching football on Sundays with her old man. I don't blame her. That's fine. Mm-hmm. You do what you want to do, kid. So she was in LA a couple of weeks ago, and she had a bunch of European friends that were there that she had met for the first time, and all of them were like, "Oh, we're going to go to the Rams game. We're going to go to SoFi Stadium. We're going to go to our first NFL game." And she's like, "Hey, wait a minute. Why have I never been to an NFL game when I have a team that's, an hour away from us?" And she's like, "I want to go to a game." I'm like, "I thought you'd never ask. Let's go to a game." And we did. She was, all week, it was, I don't know what to wear. I don't have any Bills gear. I got to buy something. I got to buy some Bills gear. I'm like, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't have any Bills gear, and I will wear Bills gear if I'm at a Bills game. I want the Bills to win. They're not my team, but I want them to win. I recognize how great it is when they win, and I love the idea that they're actually a really good team, right? So we show up. We had the world's saddest tailgate. We set up a couple of chairs and a cooler. I did smoke some meat the night before, so I brought some brisket. I brought some burn ends, and I was enjoying that. She doesn't eat meat, so she wasn't really enjoying that. She's not a big drinker, so she wasn't enjoying any of that. And a friend of mine from Long Island, who's also a Bills fan, who's also with his daughter, who's taking in her first Bills game, meet up with them and have a good time. She didn't want to do the craziness of the tailgate, right? Like we got all the invites, and I appreciate everybody who reached out and said, "Go to the Hammer's Law, go to the Pinto Ron tailgate." Like, all of that is great, and I know Bo Jackson, who will be in here tomorrow at this time, went and explored all of that, and he'll share his stories tomorrow when he's on with us. She wasn't interested in that. So we walked around a bit. We saw some of the lunacy, some of the insanity of the tailgate. We went into the game, and I think she was impressed. I think she was impressed by the energy of it all, the excitement of it all. She claims that the Beyonce show in Toronto was louder than Highmark Stadium was yesterday. I would argue, I'd push back on that a little bit. Yesterday, everybody was primed. It was a perfect storm of pride. We love where we live. We love that it was a perfect afternoon, and we love this team going up against a team that everybody thinks should beat us, but we all know different. We all know that this team is going to come in here and just be humiliated. And
let's point out too, Tyreek Hill was asked about this. Oh, yeah, it's not different than anywhere else. Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah,
it did affect the crowd. Did affect the outcome of that game. I mean, there were multiple times where you could tell that Tua was rattled, that they couldn't get the call, the delay a game, whatever it is. The Bills Mafia showed up in a big way. And so, to answer your question, it was a perfect afternoon. It was just it was a long day. As everybody knows, when you go to a Bills game, you're committing your entire Sunday. So it was long.
Yeah.
And I don't know that she was really mentally prepared for that. But there, as we're stuck in traffic, I look over and she's dozed off. I'm like, I win. I win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I outlasted
she's
my 19-year-old daughter.
I was going to say like she's 8 years old or something.
Yeah. Well, it's like how you feel when you're a parent and you look back and you see your kids sleeping in their chair. You're like, success. Wore them down.
You had to soak it in yesterday because, well, that's it. The price of being good. So much for the beautiful 1 o'clock kickoff anymore because
and maybe that was part of it too, Gino.
That could have been, absolutely.
Because it did feel like this was a game that a lot of people wanted to be at, knowing that the schedule wasn't going to be playing nice here anytime soon.
No, you get night game, 4:25 against the Jets, 4:25 against the Cowboys, 1 o'clock against New England. Like, this is like New England from Steve Grogan, New England. Isn't this just joyous to watch the Patriots flop? Oh, just comfortably. Again, not even sweating our survivor pick. How easy that was with the Cowboys.
Yeah. And by the way, we knew going into this game, the sports bar karma is real. How many victories does this make for Josh Allen against Miami?
9 times.
Automatic.
Do you know the last time the Bills lost to Miami at home? You remember this game. I'll give you a big old hint. Hasn't happened in McDermott's watch. McDermott has beaten the Dolphins every year at home. This was Christmas Eve with Rex Ryan in overtime when he had 10 guys on the field. Oh, right. Bills were still alive mathematically for the postseason. They blew it.
Such a disaster. The Rex Ryan era Bills. What a disaster. Yeah, it's a far cry from where this organization is now. And you look around the rest of the NFL, and look, no team or organization is perfect, far from it. But, man, you see some of the dysfunction that exists around the NFL right now. Gino, I'm telling you, the Bears, they're lining up to have not just the first, but the second overall pick in next year's draft. They'll find a way to screw it up. They will find a way to F it up. And I want Ryan Poles to be a success. Pride of Section 5, want it to happen, want to see. It's not happening. It's terrible.
Well, the Claypool thing is very embarrassing. Giving up a second-round pick and, we take a 6th-round pick for anybody who wants him.
It's embarrassing. Yeah. I won't say it because we want him to be a success. He's one of our guys. But I guarantee you in Chicago right now, everybody is saying, calling into sports talk radio, saying, gut it, gut the entire franchise. Everybody must go. The only person that's safe is the guy that's trying to get you a new stadium, and Kevin Warren. That's the only guy that's safe. Everybody else,
the business side, good. Everybody else,
everybody else is out. All they care about is building the stadium. So you keep the president, but as far as the team goes, gut it, tear it down to the studs.
I tried to warn you. You were so excited at the beginning. I'm thinking about going to the opener against the Packers. Like, danger. You know this isn't going to go well. No, it's okay. It's different. The Jordan Love, like, no.
I want to
set the tone.
You know how different my tone would be right now if they had beaten Green Bay at home week 1. I don't care if that's their only win of the season. I'm jealous of Detroit. How sad is that? I'm jealous that Detroit has made a commitment to just beating the Packers. That's all you really need to do in that division. Beat Green Bay, and you're winning the division. That's it. It's as simple as it is. Beat Green Bay. Can you beat Green Bay? No?
No.
Then I'm not interested. I mean, I'll always be interested, but I'm not. I'm not burning a calorie. Terrible. So thank your stars, Bills fans, for how bad things were for so long. This is the universe working in your favor. And yeah, the Patriots, the Patriot way is dead. Belichick just suffered the worst loss of his career, and it happened to be our survivor pick for week 4.
Ooh, fantastic. All right, Thursday night, are you watching Marlins Phillies game 3? Oh, assuming that it gets to a game 3, it's a best of 3. Or are you watching actually Bears and Commanders?
Are you asking me, or are you asking the general listening audience?
You for your mental health, you should watch baseball.
You know that I'm a psycho, and I'm going to watch the Bears and the Commanders, and I'm going to do it with my buddies, and we're going to go out, and we're going to have bad food, and we're going to drink a lot of beer, and we're going to be belligerent and angry, and that's my lot in life right now. That's where I'm at. So I know. Like, look, For everybody that wanted to, like, the charm of Bills Mafia as it was born during the drought and the people jumping through tables, like, you're right, you don't see that anymore. Nobody's inflicting harm on themselves anymore. We're past that. We're in a good spot. We're happy fans now. No, I'm at the spot where I'm ready to set myself on fire and run into a bus head on. That's where I'm at.
A dizzy stick and
I'm ready to take on a bus head on. Let's go. I can tackle that bus. Watch me tackle that bus. That's where I'm at as a fan of that team.
Well, at least for you, buddy. We got the Cubs and the.
Oh, thanks.
That was really nice.
Great choke job by that team. It's rough times right now for my Chicago fandom, but really, really excited. Based on what we saw yesterday and based on what's coming up for the Bills, hey, look, this London matchup might be problematic. Jacksonville, for whatever reason, gives this team fits. Trevor Lawrence has been up and down this year.
And football players, football coaches, they are creatures of habit. They love routine. This week is anything but routine. Today is routine. Players go in, they get their evaluations, they get graded out. McDermott talked today. And tomorrow players are off, and then Wednesday they get on a flight. And if you think about the logistics, hot logistic talk, where you got family and this and that and everything else, and where are we going? I guess they're staying some 40 minutes outside of London, so they're not making sure that, okay, wherever you're staying, that we're not going to have any distractions as far as... I've never been to London.
London's great.
Yeah.
And, there are distractions. Yeah. I'm sure you can find plenty of distractions in London if you look hard enough. I'm jealous of everybody that's going. I know Duffy's going from the break room. He's bringing his whole family. I want to say that they've got tea scheduled for every afternoon while they're down there. Tea at 4 o'clock, which,
okay.
Do what you do. Hearing Sal going down with his wife, that's going to be fantastic. Sal Majorana, who joined us from the DNC last hour.
Streak continues.
Sorry. He's going with his wife. That's going to be fantastic. Hearing Catalana and Jenna going to cover for BuffaloPlus.com and 13 Wham. We'll look forward to all that coverage, and I'm kind of jealous. London's a really, really fun town.
Following up on this question I asked earlier, because I'm watching the game yesterday and it was just an observation. The guys who wave the flags, I'm like, wow, they don't pay these guys, right? They can't pay them because you're getting this ticket to watch the best vantage point. You're literally right on the field and, okay, there's a score. I'm going to go wave the flag. And, well, we learned today that indeed they get paid. I'm trying to figure out how much. And one guy that has the job, Danger, 20 years he's held on to the job.
Nice.
Of course. It's the easiest job in the world.
Can you complain once if you have to do that? I mean, I guess you're complaining because you're out there freezing your couillons in January and you still have to go out there and run around. But, how much fun are those guys having? And does it add a lot to the game day presentation?
No.
Not really, but it's part of it. It's all part of it, man. I mean, everything is a part of it. Man, I got a little choked up with their salute to the military yesterday. You hear the guy's story and how he battled cancer and everything, but like there's the emotions of the game, the emotions of the atmosphere. Even the national anthem can get you a little bit choked up if it's done right. Yesterday's was fantastic.
Yesterday, the guy hit it. That's the way you do it. You can put a little bit of a touch on it, but just deliver what the people want.
You know what he could have done? And I said this to Tim, who was sitting next to me. Thank you for the tickets. I sat next to him, and we were both fully invested in the national anthem. And the guy, as I go afterwards, I go, Tim, you know what was missing from that? If he would have done the Jim Cornelison, point at the flag, the flag was still there. If you pointed at that flag as you're delivering it with the utmost confidence, you're not losing. You're not losing that game. You are not losing that game.
They should bring that guy back every week.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. Just do the point at the flag. If you're delivering it with that much emphasis as he was, you're not losing. No way. No chance. Too much emotion. Too much fire. Yeah, overall, great afternoon in Orchard Park. And, of course, the Bills getting the win. Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, an unbelievable offensive performance. Wouldn't be shocked if they're co-AFC Players of the Week. We'll find that out here later this week. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard, as we are every Tuesday afternoon at 3:25, and we'll get his take on this game, and we'll start to look ahead to Jacksonville on Sunday. Early morning Sunday, the Bills in London for their Week 5 matchup.
We got shots coming up here. Baseball playoffs are set. A couple of changes of manager. A longtime Red Sox passing. That's really sad news. We did have an NBA trade like, oh, yeah, Milwaukee, that guy had dealt away, went to the one spot you probably didn't want him to go. And this was funny last night. A national media personality stuck in the Buffalo airport started a drinking game. I would imagine this didn't go too well. Meaning, people were throwing him back.
All right. We will get into that and more as we get a round of shots lined up for you next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with
Tre'Davious White indeed out for the season. Head coach Sean McDermott of Buffalo telling reporters that White tore his Achilles. As for the win itself, coach is pleased to see guys like Josh Allen and Steph Diggs deliver.
Big-time players have big-time games or in these type settings, right? So complementary football is important. It's a team win, but your star players have to play at star levels in these games. And that's a weekly thing. And those guys played at that level.
One other injury note, Christian Benford day-to-day with the shoulder. He did return to action yesterday. Bills heading to London to face the Jaguars game on Sunday, the team leaving on Wednesday. Monday Night Football has the Giants and the Seahawks. The baseball playoffs begin tomorrow. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester. Line them up.
It's time for a round of shots.
Yes. Your baseball playoff matchups are set. The four teams that get the byes, Atlanta, the Dodgers, no surprise, Baltimore, and Houston. They rebound to actually win the AL West, so they are going to have a week off here. The four wildcard matchups, best of three, and all at the higher seed here. Toronto is at Minnesota. Texas is at Tampa Bay, Arizona, and Milwaukee. And the primetime games this week, they don't mix this up here. It's going to be Miami at Philadelphia. Amongst the teams that missing out here, the Mariners, the Cubs, and the Reds.
So Miami, Philadelphia, you say the primetime. Those are the ones.
Yeah.
Bigger TV audience, probably get more eyeballs on with those two markets.
So 8 o'clock, that's going to be on either ESPN or ESPN2. 7 o'clock will be the Arizona-Milwaukee matchup. Toronto, Minnesota at 4:30 in the afternoon. And then buried at 3 o'clock, and I'm sure everybody over 13 WHAM loves this, Texas and Tampa Bay. Which, if you remember this last year, and weird how I remember things like this, Philadelphia was playing St. Louis. Game goes to extra innings. It's a Friday. It also happens to be Ginny Ryan's last day on the air, and oh my gosh, she's not going to get the sign off the way that she wants to because this game went to extra innings.
Yeah, I remember that now that you mentioned. I can't remember if it was Jenny or if it was Doug, but somebody was retiring, and it was supposed to be a special newscast, and the baseball had something to say about that. But out of those matchups, I think I'm most intrigued by Toronto, Minnesota.
Because I think Toronto can go in there and win.
Conversely, I think Minnesota can beat Toronto.
Well, I think it's going to be, But
right, when Minnesota's in the postseason, inevitably they have to face the Yankees, which never ends well for Minnesota.
So this is the year you're saying Minnesota's wait a second, how do they get to the World Series?
You're right. There's something intriguing. I don't think Minnesota's the best team in the postseason, but that series is compelling to me because I'm curious to see if Minnesota can actually advance.
I think, and again, there are so many of us, Danger, Yankee fan, Met fan, Red Sox fan, Cub fan. We're all bystanders here. What do we, all right, so what do we root for? A good matchup. Atlanta-Baltimore would be a lot of fun.
I root for chaos. You know me.
No, chaos would be if we get Minnesota-Milwaukee, who cares?
That's beyond chaos. That's apocalyptic. I don't know what that is. That's not happening. But,
Arizona and Texas, no.
Yeah, no. But it would be fun to see a team like Minnesota. I would like to see Minnesota advance, just because it's different. I like what Sal said. I like Baltimore. That would be fun. Baltimore, Atlanta would be a lot of fun.
I don't know if any team is going to match up against Houston, though. Houston getting the bye. Houston with the experience.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah,
I don't like
they're going back. Yeah, teams making moves at manager. Buck Showalter yesterday, in making his announcement, noticed a few reporters that were on their phones tweeting and asked respectfully, "Hey, can you just at least wait until I'm done making this announcement?" Showalter's out with the Mets.
Oh.
And after winning, you called this one 2 years ago. He won 107 games as the manager of the Giants. Not coming back is
Gabe Kapler.
Gabe Kapler, yeah.
So if you're the Giants, do follow the blueprint that Chicago has. Bring back a guy who the fans love, who he doesn't have to have managerial experience, but he just knows the game, and you'll immediately, at minimum, you'll have fan engagement. Bring back Buster Posey to be your manager.
Or bring back whoever has the, or bring in whoever has the best relationship with Shohei Ohtani. You know they're going to make a run at him. Sad news for Red Sox fans. Tim Wakefield passing away.
Couldn't believe this.
Yeah.
I found this out yesterday while I was at the Bills game. I saw it cross my feed. I'm like, wait a minute. Holy S.
Yeah, he had brain cancer, and this was not the best way to kind of find out for the public. Kurt Schilling on his podcast, against Wakefield's consent, shared this with everybody, and then Wakefield passing 3 days later. The Red Sox just confirming he had an illness, just saying that Wakefield requested privacy. He was only 57. Even making matters worse, his wife has terminal cancer too.
That's terrible. And that was also shocking to me. 57. I'm like, God, he's 57, which is young. But then I'm trying to remember, like, when did he pitch until? He pitched late into his career because, let's face it, I mean, you're throwing knuckleballs. You're not really putting that kind of strain, or are you? I mean, like, it felt like he had a long career.
Yeah, what he's probably best known for is giving up that home run in 2003. Before the Red Sox won it all, it was to Aaron Boone in 2003. In extra innings, and that
maybe that's what's got me screwed up. Is 2003 doesn't feel like 20 years ago. Maybe that's what's got me screwed up.
Well, at that point, okay, so do the math. That would be
37.
Would have been 37.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like 20 years ago.
Yeah. The next time Syracuse football plays at home, it's going to be November. Good scheduling there, Orange. Syracuse was flat, losing to Clemson 31-14. This week the Orange are off, but then it gets fun. By fun, I mean not so fun. The Orange play at North Carolina. That's going to be followed up by another road game against a national contender in Florida State. So good luck to the Orange.
Hey, look, I mean, you were flat against Clemson. That was an opportunity that you missed. If you want anybody to get excited about this program, you're going to have to beat a Florida State. You're going to have to beat a North Carolina. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, what are they? They're a perennial 6 or 7 win team that can beat up on cream puffs, but can't get it done against the players.
The final week of the preseason, yay. Let's get to the real season in hockey for the Buffalo Sabres. Next playing on Wednesday night, they are in Columbus. So with a little time, if you were at the game yesterday, you noticed there were a bunch of Sabre players, maybe the whole team, in fact, all on the field with Jim Kelly before the game getting introduced.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing the Sabres out there. Lots of enthusiasm from the Sabres. I believe that they're going to come in with a different level of confidence than they've had before. I mean, you saw it kind of brewing through the course of last year. And let's face it, you had a couple of really rough patches last year that prevented you from taking that next step. And I think this team, we've been talking about it all offseason. Expectation is postseason for these guys. Got to make it into the playoffs. Be that team this year.
Drew Holiday's time in Portland lasted just 4 days. After getting dealt from Milwaukee to Portland, part of the Dame time trade, Holiday goes probably the one spot the Bucks didn't want him to go. That's to Boston. So Boston gets Boston giving up Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams. Portland also getting 2024 first-round pick. This was actually the Warriors' first-round pick, so I figured that's not going to be good. And a 2029 unprotected first-round pick from Boston.
I think that if you're Boston, you had to make this move, right? And I kind of like this move. I like the Dame move to Milwaukee. Who doesn't, right? Like, that's a great move for Milwaukee. But this move, Boston's letting everybody know, like, look, you're going to have to get by us still.
I'm wondering, because you're moving Holiday, and, if you're Milwaukee, okay, Portland is going to, move him at some point. Could they have said, hey, we're going to make this move, but gentleman's agreement, you're not sending him to Boston? That's the one place that he couldn't go.
And at that point, you can't, deal's off. If you're going to tell me what I can do with the assets I'm acquiring via trade, then the deal is off. No, there's no gentleman's agreement. I want to get what we can get while we can get it. They got 2 first-round picks for him. Good for Portland. Good for Boston. Game on. Let's see how it goes in the East.
What are we doing at least it wasn't 2030. This is 2029.
The NBA is silly. It's just bananas. It's a 2029 first-round pick. Here.
Finally, ESPN's Jeff Darlington was in Western New York yesterday covering Bills Dolphins, and, there was a flight delay. So he had some time to kill at the Buffalo Airport bar last night. Who doesn't like going to an airport bar? A lot of Bills and Dolphins fans who were flying out, they were also there. And what was on last night, Mike Danger? Well, probably something we were all watching. So Darlington came up with this idea. For every 5 cutaways of Taylor Swift, Darlington would buy everyone in the bar a shot.
Ooh.
That's at least 3 rounds he bought, right?
All right, so he actually set the over-under pretty high on that. So he was saying every 5 cutaways. He probably thought, all right, if they get 5 cutaways, I'll buy everybody a round of shots. No big deal. I work for ESPN. I can afford it. You didn't really think that it was going to be, up to 15, 16? Do we get a final count on the cutaways for Taylor Swift? Somebody was monitoring. I know Tim.
Mondo was cut. Yeah, a lot of it.
Tim in my neighborhood, counted the first 4. I lost track after that. Who do we have, or do we know how many actual cutaways we had?
I don't know. The one thing I did kind of find funny was she's holding this drink. It looks like a vodka cranberry or something like that. And Brittany Mahomes is sitting in front of her just with this bee face. It is like, ugh. Like, I have to be this friend. I'm not the center of attention here anymore.
I didn't bring this up last week when this first became a story, a pop culture / sports story, but a lot of us forget. Taylor is a brilliant business person doing whatever they ask her to do, wherever they need her to be. She's not on the road. She's attending NFL games with her new boyfriend, Travis Kelce, and we all want to believe that they're going to be happy for a long, long time, of course. But there is a movie coming out in a couple of weeks that has her name all over it. It's the movie based around her tour, and
there's the first commercial. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just in case. I know that everybody believes that this is real and genuine and she's perfect and can do no harm and all of this is genuine. That none of this is scripted, that this is just pure romance.
This has nothing to do with business.
Nothing
at
to
all.
do. There's no calculation whatsoever. I'm sure her heart is in the right place and she's just there to support her boyfriend on his NFL endeavors. It has nothing to do with the business of the brand, which is Taylor Swift, opening soon in movie theaters everywhere. The Eras Tour. Yeah, okay.
Christian Gonzalez, torn shoulder labrum. This is the number
Patriots.
one Patriots.
Yeah.
Wow. So
and Judon tore a tendon in his bicep as well.
So the Patriots lost arguably their 2 top defensive players.
Belichick suffering the worst loss of his career. God, you hate to see it. You hate to see it.
Yeah, well, we just get prepared for our next game, the Saints. I didn't appreciate Battaglia picking us against us. No, there's a little pool there.
Do you know that Dallas? This is a stat we should have ripped off on Tuesday when you made that pick for Dallas. Dallas is 9-1 after suffering a loss over the last however many years, 2 years or whatever it is, which is the best in the NFL.
9 times.
So we could have argued that Dallas rebounds from a bad loss better than any team in the NFL. They don't lose multiple games in a row.
We have already gone through, and we have a lean this week.
Okay.
And your only tease is going to be, beware of taking the highest point spread this week.
All right. So tomorrow we'll set you up. We've got a good show lined up for you tomorrow. Gino's got his Survive in Advance pick. We'll let you know when that's happening tomorrow, who's stopping by the sports bar as well. We'll have some friends and guests swinging by tomorrow afternoon here on the Fan Rochester. Last call on the way at 866-4326. The most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. We go to the phones next on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the insight.
Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Man, what an afternoon in Orchard Park, right? Western New York, the crowd. I don't think I've heard a crowd that loud in my career in the NFL. And there were times when we couldn't even communicate with the middle linebacker out there, and I'm sure Dortz had the same issue with Josh. But amazing environment. Really proud of the players.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott yesterday after the win in Orchard Park, and it was loud. It was electric. Great turnout and a great result for the Buffalo Bills as they moved to first place, 3-1 in the AFC East. It's last call at 866-4326. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be joined by Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard. His usual time at 3:25. Now, your Survive in Advance pick, we're going to bump up a little bit.
Yeah, the 3:45. I'm going to my son's senior day. He's a cross-country runner, so thank you for letting me out here.
Thank me. It's your son's senior day. Get out of here, pal.
So Bo Jackson will be coming in from the B. I'll hand the baton off to him. So Survive in Advance. Feel very confident, as I always do, but this one in particular, 3:45 tomorrow on the show. Tony Cotillo in the 4 o'clock hour, talk a little fantasy.
Yeah, and we'll review Monday Night Football tonight. Why am I feeling the Giants all of a sudden? Why do I feel like I should go with the Giants here, whose 2 losses came against 2 of the better teams in the NFL, in Dallas and in San Francisco? Why do I think the Giants at home tonight could upset the Seahawks?
They should. The home underdog on Monday night.
Yeah.
So I don't even feel like an upset, though.
Yeah. I don't know. I might go Giants tonight. We'll recap tonight's Monday Night Football game. Look ahead to Week 5 in the NFL from a fantasy perspective with Tony Cotillo, our fantasy Goomba from Win Daily Sports. Yeah, and Bo Jackson joining us right around 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon from the B Morning Coffee Club, as well as Gene enjoys senior day. Priorities are in line, buddy. I love hearing that. We got you know what? Zach Gelb is not on next.
What?
Because he is on for Maggie and Perloff, who's our new morning show on the Fan. So, CBS Radio, CBS Sports Radio next.
Who is on? Okay, we'll find out.
We'll find out next. Together, it'll be a team effort here next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and this is my show. What, you expecting something different? Whether you're looking for deep, insightful...